Hello dear viewers, thank you for choosing the Manhwa compilation channel. Please leave feedback in the comments after watching. Enjoy watching. Our hero's name is Max, and he is very lucky because he ended up in a system that provides many opportunities that are not available to ordinary people. Only in his case, it turned out that in order to get maximum strength growth, you need to endure constant beatings. This is the only way he can improve his body. Realizing this, the guy was even a little offended at first. But this system is better than working on your chi for years. Therefore, over time, Max even began to deliberately risk beatings, provoking people. He constantly hurled a couple of insults at the angry crowd and took all their generous fists. Such behavior brought him the reputation of being weak. People are already accustomed to beating him. Giving Max a couple of bruises in the morning is already a tradition. And the guy only counted on this, so he didn't even try to escape. Realizing that beatings brought him strength, the hero even began to enjoy them, because he did not think about the pain, but thought about the skills that he would receive in return. At that moment, when Max was already mixed with dust on the road in yet another scrape, a little girl with a serious face appeared, who ordered the hero to be next to her from now on. The young man was disappointed. He wanted to be at the beck and call of a more experienced lady. The girl seemed to him not so powerful and attractive, but the baby was not so simple. She destroyed everyone who tried to harm Max, which made the guy admire her. His eyes shone, because he already imagined how hard the girl could hit him. Such ambitions turned the hero's head, so he was ready to unconditionally follow the new mistress. And she, in turn, had to take care of him. Max was determined to wait until his mistress's prime, because he was predisposed to appreciate true female beauty, even though sometimes it looked vulgar. It all started in Donghuang, on the Holy Land, where beautiful architecture was combined with clear rivers and nature. In the field of martial arts, there have already been rumors that the seventh elder is in search of a student who will be endowed with all his knowledge and abilities. In addition, they said that she was amazingly beautiful, and it was a great honor to be her student. People lost their composure from such information. Everyone wanted to impress the seventh elder and attract her favor, because she had not taken on students for decades. The audience even began to quarrel among themselves, because everyone considered themselves special, but it was not for them to judge. Max noticed the tense mood of people and decided to take advantage of it. After all, he had already been hit 999,000 times. It was necessary to reach this number to 1,000 in order to activate the Qianlong physique. Watching everyone, the guy was thinking on the fly to blurt out something that would make them go crazy. Suddenly, a girl appeared who immediately recognized our hero and headed towards him. It was Dora. She openly mocked the young man, recalling how he was beaten almost to death a couple of days ago. She wondered what brought him here. She even asked with a grin if he wanted to become the seventh elder's disciple. Max understood perfectly well that Dora always sets her subordinates up for showdowns. They were the ones who beat him a couple of days ago. If it weren't for the system, he would obviously have died. But now this could even play into his hands. And realizing this, his gut rejoiced. As expected, the faithful dogs harnessed themselves to their mistress. They demanded that the hero answer all her questions and not show disrespect. Max, sensing their aggressive mood, especially through firewood. After all, by angering them, you can get your physique activated. It only takes 1,000 hits to launch. The hero deliberately said that he was applying for a place as an apprentice with the elder. And Dora's disciples were indignant at this. They considered their older sister to be the best candidate because she has good looks and a figure. And in order not to run into problems, the men told Max to get out of here and not stand in the girl's way. To this, our desperate young man said that the seventh elder was looking for a talented student, not a doll. And to finally blow everyone's minds, he added that if we discuss figure and appearance, then in his opinion the girls from Yushan are much better. Dora's defenders immediately understood what was going on. Unlike the girl herself. She didn't know what Yushan was, but one of them explained to the elder sister that Yushan is a brothel. At this moment, anger flared up not only among her faithful dogs, but also among Dora herself. She could not forgive the hero for comparing him with girls of easy virtue, so she shouted that he would pay for it. Max stood like he had nothing to do with it and told the girl not to approach, otherwise he would take action. Dora did not take his words seriously, nor did he himself, so she came closer and closer. A brilliant blow from the hero knocked out the arrogant girl. This lady will remember the taste of his fist on her teeth for a long time. She instantly flew into the wall. Such a provocation was sure to cause a storm of emotions. Max continued to behave as arrogantly as possible. The men could not believe their eyes. No one ever dared to raise a hand against their elder sister, so they considered it their duty to take revenge. Everyone, as one, was already flying with a desire for reprisals against the hero. For the sake of their goddess, they were ready to do anything. And Max finally waited for his finest hour and was ready to take the beating with open arms. The guy was pleased with himself, as if the talent to bring people out was in his blood. The enraged men were not modest, and with rifle butts made every effort to beat the insolent guy as hard as possible. They beat him with everything they could get their hands on. The system added every blow. Max shrank and waited for the final result of the perfection of his body. After all, he knew that these couple of minutes of shame would bring his goal closer. Meanwhile, the seventh elder Muna contemplated this entire performance. She asked her foothill servant why this guy was constantly being beaten, and asked who he was. The old man named the young man, and said that on his own he was basically useless. Muna was interested, because all her talented students had fallen, but she didn't feel sorry for the useless. Taking off from her seat, the girl was determined to take this idiot as her student, so as not to transfer brilliant people. Her servant understood that the lady had not taken students for 30 years, so as not to harm anyone, but now she was forced to do so. Whether it was good or bad, the old man did not undertake to judge. Muna quietly descended from heaven and went to pick up her victim from the clutches of the hooligans. The elder, with a calm face, ordered everyone to stop, because the results of the selection had already been determined. The men stopped for a moment to see who was distracting them. Against the background of these thugs, Muna seemed like a very little girl, and no one perceived her as the seventh elder. Therefore, they poked her sweets like a child, and did not take her words seriously. She coldly ignored all the mockery and purposefully continued to walk towards Max. The girl came closer to the hero and said that he was the chosen one, and would now be the student of the seventh elder. Our eccentric froze in a daze from shock. It was hard to believe. Muna's appearance made everyone think that she was an imposter. After all, the seventh elder of Fervor is famous for her achievements on the battlefield. According to their reasoning, the mistress would not have chosen such a flawed guy as her student. When Dora recovered, she also began to be indignant that the girl was leading everyone by the nose. She said that even if the seventh elder's mind had become clouded, she still would not have taken Max in with her. Dora told the girl to stop talking nonsense, and again wanted to solve all the problems with herself. But Muna did not listen to these nonsense and charged her on the other side of her face. If this continues, then even the Tooth Fairy will not help Dora. The suspicious beauty suffered the same fate. She was thrown away again like a rag, and the wall accepted the girl as her own. The seventh elder made her understand that excessive self-confidence and arrogance do not make a person beautiful, but irritate those around him. But the blonde couldn't calm down. The fact that she was dragged in by a little girl was terribly annoying. Therefore, Dora, she made the brilliant decision to break the baby's legs with someone else's hands. In return, she promised the guys a date with the winner. As soon as these loafers heard about the date with their older sister, they were immediately speechless. The men began to fantasize like crazy about the upcoming evening with the beauty and were ready to fulfill any of her instructions. Their minds were clouded by the meager hope of love, so they, without exception, rushed to attack Little Moon. At this moment, Max decided to intervene, because he was not going to share the beatings with anyone else. But the young man passed it off as a noble attempt to protect the little girl. The seventh elder did not understand why he got in, because he did not need his protection. But the hero explained this by saying that, as a sign of gratitude, he would take the blow on himself, because he has thick skin that is already accustomed to bruises. But he kept silent about his true motives. All his feigned courage was just an excuse to receive the required number of blows to get a super body from the system. Men were not against first beating the guy, and then taking on the girl. The appearance of Max on their way even added excitement to them. Seizing the moment of approaching the breakthrough, the hero stood with a calm expression on his face, and eagerly awaited the next portion of blows. Muna was flattered by the young man's act. Although it was useless, it had its own charm. It suited her. The seventh elder towered over everyone and began to glow from the activation of her aquamarine technique. As soon as the girl landed, her energy swept away literally all the men who tried to harm Max. The thugs scattered like dandelion fluff. They were shocked by the little girl's super strength. Muna explained to them that no one dares to even lay a finger on her student. Under my wall, I also couldn't believe that some brat was able to knock down a crowd of brave fighters with one blow. Max opened his eyes slightly to see what was happening, because no one had hit him for a long time. To his great surprise, the men had been unconscious for a long time, and Muna stood as if nothing had happened and calmly looked at this pogrom. The hero suddenly realized that this was her doing. And from the realization of her power, fear and respect for the girl were mixed in him. Suddenly there was the sound of someone's steps. It was a patrol that came to sort out the unrest that was interfering with the quiet life of people. Dora was very happy with them, because she hoped that they would help her put the restless little one in her place. The blonde immediately ran to inform the patrolman about what had happened, complaining that this girl dared to convey the will of the seventh elder. Muna continued to stand with a calm face. The leader of the patrol immediately realized who she was because he had the honor of seeing the elder in person. He and his unit immediately headed towards her. Dora, with a manic smile, expected that the little rude woman would now be punished to the fullest extent of the law, and rejoiced, thinking that retribution would now come. But everything did not go according to her plan, because the patrolmen fell to their knees and bowed in greeting to the seventh elder. And everyone finally realized that in front of them was not just a self-confident girl, but a mistress herself. From such information, Max opened his mouth. The warriors stuck their eyes out, and Dora nervously bit her nails. The patrol leader ordered everyone present to immediately kneel down and pay their respects to the elder. The men all obeyed as one and bowed before Muna. Yes, her appearance was far from what everyone expected to see. Even Dora could not fully accept this fact. The patrol leader immediately glanced at the blonde and scolded her for disrespecting the seventh elder, and was even ready to punish the external student for this. But Dora quickly fell to her knees and begged Moon for forgiveness. She was even ready to kiss her feet, if only she would spare her. She wanted to introduce herself and demonstrate her strengths, but Muna stopped her, explaining that she was deeply not interested in anything about such a two-faced cow. Dora was dumbfounded by such harshness because she considered herself a worthy candidate for a student. The seventh elder addressed Max by name. He was ready to listen to her carefully. For some reason it seemed to him that she wanted to punish him for his trick. But the girl only confronted him with the fact that from now on, he is her personal student. The hero did not expect this, because he himself understood perfectly well that there were people more worthy than him. Muna was not verbose. She was not used to throwing emotional agitations, so she simply told him to follow her. Max asked her not to rush to conclusions and listen to him. The girl turned around. The hero said that it's certainly cool to be a student of such a cute girl, but he personally doesn't need this care. According to his logic, there was no point in studying for a long time, and painfully, when you could simply endure the beatings and rejoice in your new strength. Muna was not going to beg him. She accepted his will and was about to leave. Max wished her well on her way home. The men behind him could not believe that this idiot simply rejected the seventh elder. But then suddenly the hero heard out of the corner of his ear from the gossips that the elder was famous for not holding back in terms of beating his students. The men assumed that it was for this reason that Max refused because he felt weak. Hearing that Muna was beating people mercilessly, the hero was very happy. After all, with her strength, one such blow is like 100. Max even thought about pissing off the elder every day in order to get him in the ear. The guy immediately stopped the seventh elder and asked him to wait. Max delicately fell to his knees and rode straight towards Muna. The trajectory was calculated down to the millimeter. He stopped right at her feet. The hero grabbed the elder's legs in his arms and begged her not to leave, because he was ready to be her student. Luna was surprised that the guy changed his shoes so quickly, because a minute ago he insisted that this was not part of his plans. The girl also warned that her demands on her students were too high, and she beat them mercilessly. Max rubbed himself against the mistress's legs and rejoiced, saying that this was wonderful, because he himself had high demands on himself. I even began to thank heaven for such a pleasant coincidence. The hero composed a lot more and begged to be taken, but Muna looked at him with a smile. Although he is strange and useless, he is still funny. The seventh elder listened to the guy and said that since he agreed, then it was time for them to go. The girl grabbed him by the collar and rose into the sky. Max couldn't believe he was flying. He was scared and interested at the same time. The external disciples were beside themselves with such injustice. Everyone considered themselves a better candidate than this useless boy. They couldn't accept the seventh elder's choice. Dora was also very angry. She more than anyone wanted to take revenge on Max for today's shame that she had to endure. Suddenly, a gloomy cloud of energy appeared behind her, which inspired danger. A voice from this cloud insisted that Dora's appearance, personality, and physique were quite consistent with her needs. A female face appeared, which encouraged the blonde to become an internal student, and not an external one. The girl was scared. She asked who was in front of her. But the entity did not introduce itself. It only promised to make her an internal student and help get rid of Max in exchange for a favor. Dora did not understand the motives of this creature. After all, There must be some benefit to her from this. The entity did not really answer the questions. It just touched the girl's forehead with its finger and said that it wanted to make a deal. She didn't just touch the blonde, she conveyed her condition to her in this way. And the condition was to kill the seventh elder. The gloomy woman in the fog ordered not to tell anyone about this, because soon she would send the right person to accompany him to the inner hall. She also warned that if anyone finds out about this conversation, Dora will lose her life. After these words, the mysterious stranger disappeared. The girl watched the clot of energy dissolve. For a moment she even froze from everything she heard. Although she was not a very pleasant person, she definitely did not want to be at her beck and call. So she firmly decided that no one would dare manage her. And on the Holy Land of the early Yuan dynasty, their own showdowns took place in the sacred temple. In the chambers of the Holy Master, information was reported from her assistant. Mei said that the seventh elder did not take a disciple for 30 years, and when the Holy Master gave the order to do this, Muna took the garbage for herself, as if out of spite. It was clear that the assistant was deliberately defaming the seventh elder because she was deliberately portraying her as a rebel. Holy Master Olivia listened to all this and made a decision. Her palm hissed and created a new decree concerning Muna. She passed this decree into the hands of Mei. Olivia asked me to convey that from now on the seventh elder is deprived of the right to use medicine for 3 months. The Holy Master did not want to harm Muna, but was forced to take measures to pacify her, because only the disciple of the seventh elder can open the secret kingdom. Meanwhile, a lightning whirlwind swept over the beauties of the secret kingdom of God. This is Muna and Max arriving home. The hero could not stop admiring the local views. Everything seemed incredibly beautiful to him, compared to his thatched hut. The old assistant elder was glad to see her return, so he greeted the girl with a smile. Muna introduced the servant of Mars and ordered to teach him the local rules. But the old man asked to postpone this, because the maid of the Holy Master had come to convey the divine decree. Mei unceremoniously interrupted their conversation with her address to the seventh elder. She suspiciously took out Olivia's order and, poking them all in the face, said that from now on, Muna's rights to medicines were revoked for 3 months. The seventh elder simply agreed to this. She said that she understood everything, turned around and got ready to leave. She understood why the Holy Master did this, but still considered her decision to be correct in terms of choosing a useless student. Mei expected a different reaction from Muna, as if she had come to see her anger. But that did not happen. Old man Lucas tried to find out from the Holy Master's assistant what kind of injustice this was. After all, the seventh elder is seriously injured. She will not last long without medicine. Max, listening to this, began to understand why there were rumors that she had not accepted students for 30 years. The arrogant maid answered him that the Holy Master could not be blamed for this. The girl also added that if anyone is to blame, it is Muna herself and her flawed disciple, who can be compared to dung. Max was embarrassed by such loud statements. He did not expect to hear such direct insults on the first day, but Mei did not consider her words shameful, explaining that people without spiritual energy are automatically equated with garbage. The hero suddenly realized that this lady had clearly come here to annoy people. Therefore, I decided that it would not be difficult to provoke her into a couple of blows, and plus, it would be possible to activate new bodies. The guy acted according to a well-established method. He directly addressed the maid and told her to shut her dirty mouth. She immediately stopped and turned around. Max continued. He challenged her to battle. For greater effect, he said that although he does not have spiritual energy, he has brains, unlike some. Such requests made Mei furious. She said that even the status of a disciple of the seventh elder would not save him from beatings. Muna noticed this verbal battle. She was pleased that the hero was standing up for her again. Old man Lucas warned the young man that this ulcer is the servant of the Holy Master herself. She has a high status, so it is dangerous to deal with her. But Max made a stunning speech about how everyone can safely humiliate him. But if it comes to his teacher, then he will no longer remain silent. He also added that he considers it his duty to defend the dignity of his master, even if he has to die. Lucas's eyes nearly fell out from such loud and heartfelt words, but in the thoughts of our cunning man there was hidden a plan to improve his body, which is why he so desperately runs into slaughter. Moreover, it is a good reason to rise in the eyes of the seventh elder. Mei's eyes were already shining with the desire to teach this impudent daredevil a lesson. She provocatively asked if he was strong enough to fight her, and Max deliberately made the girl even more angry. He pointedly gave her the opportunity to attack first. These words were for the maid like a red rag for a bull. Therefore, she immediately rushed to the attack. With a knee strike, the girl slammed the hero into the ground. Lucas was deeply afraid for the fate of the newly made student. He even for a moment assumed that he was finished. The old man tried to persuade Muna to help the guy, but she said that he had gotten into trouble himself. May's strength is average, and Max should learn to close his mouth in time, so she didn't interfere. The Holy Master's maid was already rejoicing, because she considered herself a winner. She pathetically told Max that now, for the sake of the seventh elder, she would leave him alive. But next time, she would not stop. But suddenly the hero recovered and said that they were not finished yet to plan for next time. It's just that his body had already improved, and now Max was ready to strike back at her. Muna could not understand why the guy changed so much after the blow. May could not restrain herself and rushed to attack again, ordering the hero to lie where he lay. But Max was determined to kill her, activating his power to the fullest. The guy's leg and the maid's hand came together. They both put maximum effort into their techniques, but our hero was much stronger, and May's hand felt it, breaking at the wrist. The girl could not believe that this was her total failure. While she was trying to understand what was happening, Max gave her a powerful uppercut from his leg. The maid was carried away by the shockwave to a considerable distance, and upon completion, the guy came closer to her. He looked at her crippled body from above and asked what it was like to lose to garbage. After all, without spiritual energy, the hero managed to roll the Holy Master's maid into a tile. Isn't it a miracle? May was confused because she had reached the peak of chi purification, so she could not accept Max's victory. Max, despite his serious appearance, rejoiced in his thoughts. He was glad that he was able to activate his physique here and under such circumstances. The hero decided to test his strength at the moment, so he activated the system window. The system showed that Max received the Qianlong body, but is not very good at using it yet. But in principle, he is the strongest at the stage of chi purification. The guy heard that the most outstanding disciple of the Chak sect is at the peak of chi purification, and this meant that in this sect, Max is the strongest. The hero's head was turned by the realization of such possibilities. The young man could not stand the pressure of his feelings and began to cry, because life was so harsh, and finally all his beatings were finally justified. Max either cried or laughed, and no one could understand what was happening to him. Old Lewis even suggested that the boy was sick, but this fountain of emotions was stopped by Muna, turning to the hero. At first, he enthusiastically tried to get a compliment from her, but then he realized that he had gotten something else. The situation became tense as the seventh elder's eyes were filled with anger. She asked Max if he really seriously hid his power from her. The young man tried to get out of it, so he made up the idea that he had just made a breakthrough. For his lie, he received a powerful slap in the face from Muna, and the system immediately gave him additional points for his skills in owning a new body. The girl continued to beat him until he lost his teeth, citing the fact that she specifically chose a wretched student for herself, and not a genius. With each subsequent hit, the system continued to award points. Max now had 69% out of 100 in mastery of his physique. Then the seventh elder began to kick the hero, continuing to scold him for lying. This blow gave the guy 98% of Qianlong's mastery of his body. Lucas watched this with a smile, because he knew that the girl was not beating him out of malice, but because she was worried about the boy's life. With the last of his strength, Max fell at the feet of his master. He asked Muna to calm down and give him a little rest from the beatings, because her blows were very strong. The seventh elder had no intention of stopping. She insisted that if she came across a genius, she would make a cripple out of him. Muna activated her most powerful technique and was ready to punish the guy for lying to her. Although it looked scary, the girl did it with good intentions. She sincerely believed that it was better for Max to be crippled than to simply die on a mission. The hero did not know where to go from the angry lady. The seventh elder attacked the young man directly in the chest with all his might. This caused the system to activate and begin increasing Max's level to 99%. And when the mastery of body control reached 100%, the hero began to emit light. Muna was blinded by the energy that her disciple emitted. This radiation influenced her, capturing the elder's body and beginning to change it. The girl couldn't understand what was happening to her, so she started screaming loudly. Old man Lucas was very afraid for her, because he was a devoted servant. A huge energy ball captured Muna and Max, blinding everyone else with its power. And then the incredible happened. The seventh elder has regained her true form. She was shocked that she was able to recover. Luca also could not believe his eyes. He did not expect to see the mistress in her previous guise. Muna theorized that Max's energy activated an unknown healing ability in her body. It was hard to believe that thanks to the first tramp she met on the square, she managed to heal what the sect's medicines could not cure for years. The hero lay on the ground and rejoiced that his master had grown up. And he could also keep silent about the white element of her wardrobe, which is clearly visible from below. Muna did not immediately understand what particular item of clothing she was talking about, but then she realized that this was her white floral underwear. For such observation, Max was punished with the fist of the seventh elder. After the beatings, she decided to make sure the guy had learned his lesson, so she asked what he saw. The crippled Max decided not to joke with fate, and assured that he had not seen anything, if only the master would not beat him again. Muna calmed down and was about to leave. The hero, looking after her, admitted to himself that Muna is truly a terrible woman. She hits him harder than Dora's gang. The seventh elder ordered old man Lucas to give the young man all the medicines from the warehouse so that by tomorrow he would be firmly on his feet. The servant was surprised at this order. After all, the Holy Master limited her access to medicine for as much as 3 months. He was worried that if the stocks in the warehouse were emptied so quickly, then Muna herself would be left without the necessary medicines. But the girl was not going to listen to his concerns. She simply ordered him to follow her instructions. She was sure that it was Max's energy that restored her to her previous appearance, so she was going to understand the principle of operation of these possibilities, so that in the future, she would not resort to the sect's medicines at all. The hero himself cried with joy that the master cared so much about him. Beaten and happy, he followed her with his eyes, remembering the beauty of her light lingerie. Rumors spread with great speed. Even in the secret kingdom of Tao Shu, they were already discussing the order of the Holy Master in relation to the seventh elder. Also, someone falsely said that Muna injured the Holy Master's maidservant because she gave her bad news. Second elder Helen heard such news and became very worried. After all, she knew that elixirs were very important for her sister's health. She asked her disciple Kai to accompany her to the secret kingdom of Boshan to see the seventh sister. He bowed and agreed with the will of his master. Gossip also reached the secret kingdom of Yaoshan, which greatly interested the local mistress. Fourth elder Felina was even glad that her sister, according to rumors, had stumbled so harshly. She had long disliked Muna, so she discussed all this with her student Melissa with a grin. Having learned that her seventh sister was going through difficult times, Felina decided to visit Muna and make sure of everything. In the secret realm of Linghan, this topic was also on everyone's lips. The bohemian beauty, sitting on the terrace, talked about the injury of her seventh sister, because of which she became like a child. The desire to see Muna become even weaker without medicine literally overwhelmed the woman. It was the sixth elder Vanessa. She told her disciple to quickly hand over his shoes so that he could go to Boshan and gloat. Chuck gently wrapped his hand around his master's foot and handed her the shoes. Her will was above all for him. In the rays of the early sun, the roosters were already crowing at full speed. According to the rules of the courtyard, you should get up very early. Max adhered to these rules. He woke up, stretched, and was ready to live this day. In addition, his new physique was simply excellent, and the master's medicine quickly put the guy on his feet. The hero suddenly thought, if the mastery of the Qianlong physique has reached 100%, then how to move to the next level? Do I have to endure beatings again? While he was thinking, a green flash flashed behind him. It was the beautiful Helen, along with her student and a whole tray of medicines. Max was glad to see such a beautiful fury. He considered this place a paradise, because the girls here are simply angelic in appearance. Sensing the presence of the guests, Muna herself appeared and greeted her second sister. Helen couldn't believe her eyes, because the seventh had returned to her appearance. But Muna admitted that this is only temporary. Because this is not forever, the second elder was upset and sighed heavily. But the purpose of her visit is precisely to help. She suggested that Muna immediately take all the medicines that Kai was holding, because she knew about the ban on using the sect's elixirs. But the seventh elder was in no hurry to drink all this. She clarified whether they were made hastily. Helen nodded happily, insisting that she was in a hurry. The second lady is known for her confusion. Although she is good at alchemy, she always makes some mistakes. Even old Lucas knew about it. Last time, he ate a rejuvenating pill and almost said goodbye to life. But he was such a handsome man in his youth. But only he thought so, and recalled the past years with tears in his eyes. Realizing that Muna did not want to eat the medicine, the second elder became very upset. She said that she tried very hard for her sister. The seventh lady tried to somehow get out of it so as not to offend her, but she didn't succeed convincingly. Suddenly, Muna noticed Max, who was choking on drool from the beauty of the elders, and decided to use him to get out of this situation. The seventh elder called the hero to her. Max rushed to joy and was ready to do whatever the beauties ordered him to do. And Muna, taking advantage of this, ordered him to drink all Helen's pills, citing the fact that the guy needed to regain his strength after yesterday. The hero, not suspecting a catch, was glad that the master took such care of him. The second elder suspected something, but Muna insisted that she really loved her student and needed him more. The seventh elder pierced Max with her gaze and ordered him to immediately eat everything so that there would be nothing left. But the hero did not understand that he was being used, so he decided to absorb everything without ceremony. The guy turned the tray over his mouth and simply poured all the contents into it at once. Old man Lukak almost lost his lower jaw from such an act. He wanted to warn the young master about the consequences, but did not have time. Throwing away the tray and chewing medicine, Max tearfully admired the kindness of his teacher. Helen asked if it was tasty because she tried so hard. Max nodded at first, saying everything was fine, but then I turned red from the burning sensation. The system warned that he had eaten something poisonous. Max had steam coming out of all his holes. His face was numb and his stomach was twisting. When he was already shaking, he began to shout that the pills were poisoned. The guy fell after these words. Of course, everyone expected side effects from hastily made medications, but just like that. In general, they were in shock. Helen couldn't believe that her medications were bad. After all, she believed that her pills had an excellent reputation throughout the Holy Land. The second elder turned to the others, so that they confirmed the good quality of her medicines. But they tried to evade the answer, because they knew very well that she was a so-so pharmacist, but they did not want to offend her. Until recently, Helen did not want to believe that there was something wrong with her skills, so she confronted Max that he was falsely blaming her pills. But the hero, lying on the ground in convulsions, insisted that his condition speaks for itself. The second elder sat down next to the guy and realized that he would really throw off his hooves now. But she couldn't understand why he was poisoned. She even suggested that the reason was his weak fundamental development, and therefore a large number of pills could not be digested. The woman turned Max's face left and right to understand the real reason. He asked not to examine him as an experimental subject, but to save him. Suddenly the guy was distracted from the pain by something. His sick brain again noticed the elder's underwear. He remembered that his master had white ones, and this one already had green ones. With a lustful smile against his will, all that escaped from the young man's mouth was that he was not enough. He meant that too little underwear was visible, but the second elder found a different meaning in his words. An idea came to her bright head. The woman decided that Max was feeling bad because there weren't enough pills and that's why he was suffering. Helen said that because of yesterday's injuries, he should take a lot more medicine than in a normal situation. After these words, she took out a jar that she had saved in advance and ordered her to eat more. Max was horrified. He didn't like this idea much. Secondly, the elder forcibly shoved the entire jar into the hero's mouth, saying that he was very lucky, because not everyone is given the opportunity to eat such a quantity of her medicine. The hero tried to reach out to Muna, pressing for pity, saying that if she does not intervene, she will lose her precious student. But the seventh elder understood that it was either him or her, so she watched indifferently. Luca also began to worry about the young master and began to ask the woman to really intervene. But the lady was sure that although her second sister was clumsy, she had not lost the basics, so the drugs had side effects, but were not fatal. The old man just exhaled, because he knew that both sisters had been unlucky in the past, because one looked like a child, and the second confused the recipes. Meanwhile, Max had already stopped resisting and even began to say goodbye to life. Who knew that after living in this world for only 3 years, he would die not from injuries, but from poisoning? And the fact that Muna didn't come to help actually made him cry. But suddenly this mournful moment was disturbed by the system, which reported that new skills had been unlocked. The system window stated that due to taking low-quality pills, the hero received 38 Qianlong energy points. Max discovered that the pain had disappeared, and the second elder's pills helped the system break through. This meant that for him, medicine was not poison, but a way to gain new strength. Helen enthusiastically shoved pills at the guy, wanting to help him, but suddenly the hero raised his hand up and stopped the woman. The second elder was outraged that Max was refusing her kindness, but the hero said that he refused for nothing. He suddenly cried out that this was not enough. The guy confidently stated that he had never tried such wonderful medicines, and she simply had to give him more. Old man Lucas was perplexed by his words. He even decided that these procedures had caused the boy to lose his mind. Muna waited with a smile for the continuation. Celine shed tears. These words touched her to the depths of her soul. Finally, at least someone appreciated all the woman's work. The second elder grabbed Max by the hand and led him along, promising to provide him with as many pills as he wanted. The hero was not going to be modest, so he said that he would empty her warehouses. This idyll was disrupted by some loud sound. Everyone turned around sharply to understand what was happening. It was Saint Master Olivia, who was clearly not in a very good mood, since she honored those present with her visit. Max was in his repertoire. He immediately began to drool over the beauty of the Holy Master. But the guy still had no idea who she was and what she was capable of. Muna immediately became wary, because a personal visit from such a person inspired fears. The hero realized that this was a holy master, but could not understand for what purpose she came here. He even began to fantasize that Olivia found out about his talent and decided to steal the guy for herself. The holy master forced Muna to bow before her. Her energy literally crushed the seventh elder to the ground, so she knelt down. Olivia expressed her anger over the fact that Muna allegedly injured her servant and ruined all her mistress's plans. Max, watching this, began to panic, because this resembled a public execution. The seventh elder tried to prove to the Holy Master that the secret realm had consumed the lives of all her disciples, so she decided to take on a useless one. She asked why Olivia was so obsessed with this secret kingdom, and why innocent people had to die. Because Muna dared to object to her, the Holy Master added strength to her technique to punish her. Muna experienced indescribable pain, but still remained unconvinced. Olivia could not restrain herself from anger, so she decided to hurt the seventh elder even more, and take away all her courage and impudence with one blow. And now Muna's appearance again turned into that of a little girl. She lay on the ground and coughed because she did not dare to resist the Holy Master. Max was furious because his beautiful adult master had turned into an unappetizing little thing again. Helen tried to stop Olivia, begging her to spare her seventh sister as an act of mercy. Old man Lucas also fell to his knees and begged not to harm Muna, glad of their good friendship. But Max decided not to stand on ceremony. He brazenly addressed the Holy Master, calling her his elder sister. The hero insisted that we must first find out the truth and then act. He also said that her maid started being rude, and that's why she got it from him. Max confidently stated that if she wanted to punish someone, it would be him, not the seventh elder. Helen and Old Man Lucas were shocked by such courage of the young master, because no one dares to speak like that to a holy master. Olivia didn't think for a long time and hit Max with lightning, so that he wouldn't appear. The woman did not believe that such a weakling could harm her maid. Well, the fact that he called her big sister also played a role. After this, the Holy Master turned to Muna, saying that she was giving her one last chance to find a worthy disciple in the outer sect and train him properly. But the seventh elder firmly stood her ground. She said that even on pain of death, she would never allow innocent people to die again. But Olivia made it clear that if she did not act, people would still die, and she decided to start with Max. The boy came to his senses after the blow, and the system showed that his Qianlong energy had increased by 100 points. Muna immediately realized that her student, who simply wanted to intercede, was about to suffer. In this way, the Holy Master wanted to show the seriousness of her intentions. She swung with all her might, preparing a powerful blow for the hero. Max came to his senses due to a warning from the system, which claimed that there would now be a blow that his body could not withstand. When the guy stood up, an energy ball with lightning was already flying at him, which could have killed him. He even began to say goodbye to life, but suddenly Muna appeared in front of him, covering the hero with her body. The seventh elder hastily began to form a protective array in order to somehow contain Olivia's technique. The array formed around Max and Muna like a small dome. The seventh elder tried her best to hold the dangerous technique, but suddenly her strength ended and she began to lose consciousness. He held this exhausted baby in his arms and asked about her well-being. The hero rushed to catch his master to soften her fall. Muna, with the last of her strength, told him that he must live. Max did not expect to hear such warm words from such a strict master. After all, the hero has been in this world for 3 years, but no one has ever cared about him. Although the guy knew that Muna had her own reasons for taking him as her student, at this point it became clear that she was not indifferent to him. The concern of the seventh elder won the heart of the young man. He squeezed her shoulder, repeating that he would not leave the girl. Moreover, Max decided to prove that he is worthy of this care. Having raised Muna, the hero again turned to the Holy Master, saying that he did not lie about May and she really lost to him. He also added that it was precisely because of the shame of admitting defeat to the scum that the maid lied. And so the Holy Master mistakenly thought of Muna. Olivia was indignant, because the guy is only at the first level of chi purification, and May is at the peak. She didn't think it was possible. In response to this, Max said that he doesn't care what they think about him, and doesn't care about bad attitude, but he does not intend to tolerate injustice towards his master, so he is determined to prove to the Holy Master that Muna has taken a genius as her student. The seventh elder quietly asked the guy not to do this, but Max handed the master over to Lucas and told her to rest. He claimed that he could easily handle the rest. The hero came closer to Olivia, bowed, and said that he considered himself talented and was ready for tests. Such statements surprised the Holy Master. She even for a moment stopped considering him a useless weakling. Forming a devastating technique in her hands, Olivia decided to personally test the daredevil. At that moment, the fourth elder appeared with his student, asking not to start the inspection without them. Olivia was not expecting guests, so she scattered her equipment while she investigated their visit. Felina bowed and offered to use her student Melissa as a test, so that Olivia herself would not get her hands dirty on this boy. The fourth elder referred to the fact that peers learn better from each other. The Holy Master accepted the offer and ordered Melissa to test the hero. Felina turned to the student and ordered her to give her younger brother a couple of lessons, only carefully. Under these words, she secretly gave a signal to kill the young man. The student understood everything and bowed, accepting the will of her master. Melissa landed in front of Mars in full combat readiness. The girl was not going to leave Muna's student alive. The seventh elder understood that Felina did not like her, to put it mildly, so she knew that if her student started fighting Max, his life would be in danger. Old Lucas tried to prevent the lady from interfering, citing her wounds, but Helen reassured her sister, promising to help him if necessary. Melissa, fully armed, began to approach the hero. She said that she wanted to express her concern. The girl, as a sign of goodwill, invited the guy to be the first to choose the type of competition. Max removed her hands away and suggested that they exchange a couple of techniques to begin with. Initially, the young man mistook his rival for a very nice older sister. He was generally impressed by the local beauties, who were famous for their stunning appearance and strength. He decided to study each of them at any cost. Melissa suddenly threw shurikens, claiming that she would not stand on ceremony. Max did not expect such a quick start to the battle, so he was discouraged. Muna began to worry, because the girl immediately used a deadly technique. This spoke of all their intentions. The seventh elder even wanted to help her student, but Helen stopped her again, noticing the young man's resourcefulness. Max dodged Melissa's shuriken with the reaction of a cat. This little thing flew quite close, and not everyone could have escaped from this provocation. The hero jumped back a couple more times so that his location would not be too predictable and would not be vulnerable. He expressed his surprise, because he considered this a friendly exchange of experience, and not an attack on his lower reservoir of accumulation of chi energy, the so-called Diantian. Melissa smiled sweetly and argued that since the guy accepted the challenge, he should be ready to get hurt or die. But mentally, she had already begun to evaluate his true abilities, because the fact that he was able to dodge her hidden technique already indicated that he was not a weakling. Max stood up and brushed off his clothes. The hero said that if this is so, then no one will believe him for the accidental death of his opponent. He spoke very impressively, but Melissa only laughed in response. The girl was extremely confident in herself. The fourth elder's disciple bloodthirstily licked the kunai and told the guy not to be insolent to her in front of the elders and the Holy Master. Max didn't think for a long time and decided to attack first. He jumped up from his seat and headed towards the girl to strike. But it seems she was just waiting for this, because she had prepared her signature trick in advance. These were 9 lightning-fast kunai that had never left anyone alive. They surrounded the hero from all sides. It seemed that this was his end. Muna understood that it was Felina who taught this technique to the student, so it was worth worrying about the young master. Helen also understood the danger and already wanted to rush to Max's aid. But the fourth elder stood in her way, claiming that the sparring was taking place at the will of the Holy Master, so it would not be good to interfere with it. The seemingly calm second elder became seriously angry from helplessness. While the elders were figuring out whether they could help the students, a big explosion occurred. The little lady immediately began to think about the bad, about the fact that she would no longer see her wonderful student. Felina put in her 2 cents here too, insisting that the guy would have died anyway. And so they say he died early, which means there is no need to teach. Melissa, with a grin, asked Muna for forgiveness for not counting her strength and killing her student. At that moment, Max appeared from the soot of smoke, who was ready to print the impudent girl into marble. The fourth elder's disciple couldn't believe that this guy survived. With his already trained fist, the hero punched Melissa right in the face, wishing her a pleasant trip to hell. The blow was amazingly powerful, so in addition to the marble tiles, Melissa was also damaged. Well, it looks like someone has lost the status of boastful and invincible, just right for the outer sex. Felina's eyes almost rolled out of her head. She could not accept the fact that her student lost to such scum. The Holy Master was also very surprised, because she definitely saw that his level of chi purification is at the first level. But he demonstrates his strength as if at its peak. Olivia was even ready to admit her mistake. Who knew that this arrogant daredevil would turn out to be a real genius? Old Man Lucas and the moon rejoiced at the victory of the young master. The seventh elder was sure that the guy won precisely for her sake. But no matter how joyful it was, this meant that from now on he would be prepared for death in the secret kingdom. Max froze in a heroic pose that everyone could remember his brave face. But those around him thought that he was not feeling well. But the hero got tired of standing and began to give up, after which it became clear to everyone that he was fine and was just showing off. At this moment, Melissa began to come to her senses. The fact that Max was able to wound her surprised and angered the girl very much. But the young man said that this was far from the end, because everything would not end with a blow. The hero came closer and closer, and the girl began to scream that he wanted to kill her. Max came from afar. He said that the murder of a fellow sect member is vile. He may not be a social person, but he is not capable of this. But when it comes to revenge, then you have to sacrifice your principles. After all, Melissa tried to destroy his Diantian, the energy reservoir of chi, so he said that he was forced to do the same. Melissa realized that Max was not joking and really wanted to destroy her Diantian. Consequently, she began to put pressure on pity and conscience. But the hero did not give in, because she would not have spared him if he had been a little weaker. Therefore, Max rushed with all his might to carry out his plan. When the hero's fist was already very close, Melissa began to beg her master to come to the rescue. Felina instantly became a human shield for her student, standing in the way of Max's attack, who could no longer stop because he accelerated quite strongly. His fist pressed against the gentle but strong hand of the fourth elder. After docking like this, the hero was simply carried away. Felina couldn't let Melissa get hurt. Following this, the fourth elder began to blame Max, citing the fact that her student had kindly agreed to show a couple of techniques, and in response, he decided to kill the girl. The guy stood up and expressed his surprise at such brazen hypocrisy. He said that only the most two-faced toadstool could mean death by demonstrating techniques, without even changing his face. Max decided to draw the Holy Master's attention to this, citing the fact that such people could ruin the reputation of the entire sect with their meanness. Felina decided not to wait for Olivia's answer and punish the impudent guy for disrespecting the elders. The woman threw her lightning-fast, deadly blade right at the hero's head. Helena and Muna began to get nervous. They warned Max with all their might to avoid it, otherwise he would not survive. But even without the elders, it was clear that the situation had become tense. After all, even the system went crazy and displayed red windows with warnings of mortal danger. But there was a way out. The system suggested using 10 points of Qianlong energy to evade this attack. The hero realized that he could use his skills in this way, so he immediately used this chance of salvation. Despite the fact that the blade was already almost under Max's eye, the system did not deceive and made it possible to quickly dodge. As soon as the guy stepped aside, the lightning blade of the fourth elder pierced the ground and exploded. It's scary to imagine what could have happened to Max. Felina couldn't believe her eyes, because an ordinary boy instantly undermined her reputation as an elder by dodging the purple blade. Max said that they are worth each other, because each has a desire to take his life. But he doesn't intend to just stand there and endure it. The hero explained that today he will destroy Melissa and no one will stop him from doing this. Such confident words angered Felina more and more. She began to activate her most powerful techniques to pacify the guy's insolence. It was as if she'd been waiting for another opportunity to destroy Max and was now ready to kill him. The hero realized that things were bad and ordered the system to use all the remaining Qianlong energy to dodge. Using the help of the system, Max deftly avoided the deadly blades and kunai of the fourth elder. But there is a limit to everything, including the energy points of the system. After all the successful evasions from attacks, there are no points left. The guy took advantage of the shock of the fourth elder and bypassed her, because he was going to fulfill his promise and destroy Melissa. You have to pay for meanness, and Max wanted to destroy what Felina's student had previously coveted, the Diantian. The hero could no longer be stopped. He accelerated and activated his powerful fist. Melissa understood that now she would not be well and tried to run away. But you can't run away from retribution, and Max proved this to her by hitting the girl in the back with all his might. At that moment, Melissa felt for herself what meanness is, and perhaps this will become a good lesson for her. After the blow, the disciple of the fourth elder flew back again and smashed the marble tiles. This fate awaits everyone who acts unfairly towards Max. Having achieved his goal, the hero could not hide his delight at the capabilities of the system. After all, he managed to dodge the techniques of an expert-level master. In a fit of anger, Felina appeared, who wanted to punish Max for harming his fellow cult member right in front of her nose. The system beeped with warnings, because this blow was beyond the limit of the guy's body. The fourth elder was not so much taking revenge for the student, as she wanted to get rid of the person who could resist her. After all, if he lives and develops, then he may become a hindrance for her in the future. Max, in his enthusiasm, completely forgot about the old woman's anger. Only he no longer had Qianlong energy, and the hero can no longer evade. This made his hair stand on end. The guy was already saying goodbye to life, because he didn't see a way out of this situation. Helena was already at the limit of her worries. She was ready to intervene. But Muna stopped her, because she knew that he would not die. The second elder could not understand her sister and where she got such confidence from. But the little lady said that Max had already shown his abilities and passed the test. She was right. The Holy Master could not let such a talent go to waste. So she came to its defense, covering it with her own body. Olivia gave Felina a cold look and said that was it. And to stop the anger of the fourth elder, the Holy Master used an energy barrier that pushed the woman away to a considerable distance. Felina flew away and no longer dared to continue her attack. But to be honest, she did not expect the Holy Master to intervene. The hero was also shocked, because Olivia saved him. The Holy Master created a new effective decree, in which it was ordered to make Max the elder brother of the First Order disciples. From now on, he will receive the same treatment as second-tier disciples, and the hero will also receive the right to enter the secret kingdom of Xinyan. But the most impressive was the order to provide Moon with all the necessary medicines. Each of those present was shocked by such decisions, but some were happy, and some were not. Felina continued to express her dissatisfaction with Olivia. She referred to the fact that Max had injured a member of the sect and deserved not praise, but a reprimand. The Holy Master coldly replied to the fourth elder that she could clearly see all her thoughts and intentions, so it would not be possible to fool the Holy Lady. Felina immediately fell silent and drooped. She had nothing to object to. Olivia ordered her decree to be acted upon and departed spectacularly. Silently, but with incredible anger, the fourth elder took her student in her arms, indignant that Max was alive today. But the woman swore to herself that this scoundrel would live only a couple of days longer. She didn't say anything out loud, but her face wasn't very pleasant. The hero even decided that the fourth elder looked so bad because of the mental trauma that the Holy Master inflicted on the woman. Max opened the scroll with Olivia's decree and began to delve into the text. This order of students was incomprehensible to him. It resembled a ladder, but Helena kindly explained all the details. The fact is that first-order disciples are those who have just joined the sect, and second-order disciples have been to the battlefield and broken through the chi purification stage to the foundation building stage. The second elder also said that the hero can now obtain the necessary cultivation pills several times more than first-order disciples. And in general, he can use resources as a second-order student, being only at the stage of chi purification. This is a great success, because Helen congratulated the guy from the bottom of her heart. Inspired by his new status, the hero began to imagine what bonuses awaited him in the role of a third-order student. Thinking only about benefits, Max shouted at the top of his lungs that he would definitely become a third-order student. Such statements angered the seventh elder, so she cut short Max's moment of glory. But the hero did not notice the anger of his master, and continued to insist that he would become a third-order student and bring her glory. But Muna's cold and angry gaze made him silent a little, because the girl clearly perceived everything that flew from his mouth aggressively. The seventh elder hit Max on his manhood to make him understand that he should not become a third-order disciple. Meanwhile, the system counted plus 10 points to the Qianlong energy. She was very angry, and the guy had the opportunity to feel it with literally all his organs. The only plus was the energy points from the system for all hits. Muna blamed the hero for the fact that instead of leaving, he took and showed his strength to the Holy Master. With every word, she hit him harder and harder, until his shoe flew off, and the system naturally took advantage of this. Old man Lucas understood why the seventh lady was so angry, because all the third-order students had long been dead, and they all studied with her. Max bravely endured all the beatings. He took Muna's shoe in his hands and said that she shouldn't strain herself too much because of her injuries. The hero even began to press for pity so that the master would not beat him anymore. Muna finally pulled herself together and calmed down, looking at this suck-up. The seventh elder even felt embarrassed for immediately taking out her anger on him. He stood up for her, and that says a lot. The guests today were like at the market. Before they had time to send the fourth elder away, the sixth one appeared along with her student. Sixth elder. Vanessa mocked her seventh sister's anger without embarrassment. Even her student Chuck couldn't hide his grin. Helena and old Lucas were not expecting this person's visit at all, and Max, as usual, did not miss the opportunity to admire another juicy beauty. It was clear that Vanessa had come here to gloat over the situation of the seventh sister, like vultures. She had not yet heard about the new sacred order, so she openly mocked Muna. The woman asked without shame whether the seventh sister's bad mood was due to the order of the Holy Master to take away her right to medicine. Muna immediately understood the reason for the visit of this impudent sister. She came to mock and amuse herself. Vanessa claimed that she was simply tormented by interest. After all, her seventh sister always finds a way out of hopeless situations. The sixth sergeant major came close to Muna and said that she couldn't wait to see how she would get out of it now. Max was shocked by the number of his master's ill-wishers. This was very embarrassing, because Muna is a good person and does not deserve to be treated like this. The seventh elder tried to keep a distance when communicating with the sixth sister, so she said that this did not concern her. Therefore, there was no reason to worry. Vanessa sat down next to Muna and insisted that she could not help but worry, because if her sister did not take medicine for 3 days, she would die without a funeral. With an insolent smile on her face, the sixth elder said that she was very sorry for Moon. Max suddenly realized that this woman was not yet aware of the latest events, which is why she was behaving this way. Coming out of this, the guy came up with a brilliant idea. Muna was about to tell her everything as it is. But suddenly the hero intervened, begging the master to stop. The guy assured Muna that she was too weak after being wounded, so he himself would entertain the sixth elder. Max hurriedly greeted Vanessa, while the seventh mistress tried to figure out what he was up to. The woman asked him who would protect the young man if his master died in 3 days. It came true that he was completely helpless. In response, Max offered to bet if Vanessa was so sure that Muna was doomed. The sixth elder was surprised. The hero, in turn, gave the conditions. He was betting that the Holy Master would immediately restore Muna's rights and promote the boy to the elder brother of first-order disciples, and give him access to resources only allowed to second-order disciples. Max looked her straight in the eyes and asked if she agreed to such an argument. After all, he understood perfectly well that it sounded crazy, and that Vanessa might fall for it. Helen and Muna watched this performance, recognizing the guy's cunning mind. The sixth elder only laughed in response. After all, it was still possible to believe that the Holy Master would return her sister's rights, but raising the status of a useless student already seemed ridiculous to her. Vanessa came close to Max and, stroking the young man's face, recognized him as quite sweet and innocent. The hero replied that he considers himself ambitious, because without ambition, a person is like a vegetable. He boldly removed the woman's hand from his face and asked if she had the courage to argue with him. Chuck was already starting to get angry that a stranger dared to touch his master. Vanessa activated her feminine magic of charm and pressed herself close to Max. Whispering in his ear that she agreed to argue, she continued to muffle his vigilance with sweet speeches. The hero admitted that this woman is not so simple, because his artillery gun instantly reacted to the affection and was about to go into action. Fortunately, he began to think with his head in time, and not with something else. Stepping back, the guy put forward a reward in case of winning. If he is right, then the sixth elder will vow to fulfill his wish. Vanessa was sure that this chick had fallen for the magic of temptation and would want something related to her attention. The hero continued that if he loses, he will give the secret kingdom of Boshan to the woman. For a moment, Vanessa became nervous, because the bet was quite valuable. This could mean that this young man was confident of his victory. The woman immediately focused on the fact that he was just a minor disciple, and had no right to dispose of the secret kingdom of Boshan. Max, hearing this, immediately turned to Muna for permission to put her secret kingdom on the line. The guy winked and tried to make the seventh elder understand that this was a farce. But the girl understood everything a long time ago, and such gestures were not obligatory. Muna exhaled and gave the go-ahead to use the secret kingdom of Boshan as a bet. And to add realism, she said that if Max loses, she will skin him and make a kebab. The hero did not understand that she said that on purpose, so he continued to give signals. Although she is in the form of a cute little girl, she is still very strong and fierce. The seventh elder was well aware of the true attitude of her sisters towards her. Felina is simply bullying out of envy, but Vanessa is trying in every possible way to really kill her. And if Max is planning to deceive her, then the girl will happily watch as the sixth sister is put in her place. Vanessa, looking at Muna, concluded that she was not particularly confident in this argument. Therefore, I boldly agreed to argue. She said her name and swore before heaven that if she lost, she promised to fulfill one request of Max. The hero did the same. Only if she lost, he promised to transfer the secret kingdom of Boshan to Vanessa. Heaven accepted their vows. And so the sixth elder asked with insane interest when the Holy Master there would restore Muna's rights to the sex medicines. And Max would be promoted to the rank of elder brother of First Order disciples. The young master chuckled quietly and said that everything had been done a long time ago. He pulled out a scroll with Olivia's order, which was 100% genuine, and shoved it in Vanessa's face. The sixth elder froze for a moment with her mouth open. She immediately snatched the scroll with the order from the guy's hands to verify everything personally. The order was real, and while the woman was caught in a fit of shock, the hero still managed to remind her that she now owed him. Vanessa began to get angry and scream that Max, having an order in hand, dared to deceive her in order to argue.
But the guy didn't consider himself guilty, because it wasn't his chest instead of brains. Only a narrow-minded person would put his secret kingdom on the line without having reinsurance. Every word the young man said angered the woman even more. But it seems she was more angry at her self-confidence and arrogance, and tried to take the rest out on people.
Her students knew how to calm their master in anger. Chuck stroked Vanessa's shoulders, repeating that now he would expose this liar. The woman thanked her student for such support, because without him she would have immediately destroyed everything. This moment of relaxation was interrupted by Max, who reminded them that they had lost and owed him. Chuck smirked and expressed his disrespect for the hero. As the strongest First Order student, he had doubts about Max being his older brother. The disciple of the sixth elder, with incredible pathos, challenged the hero to a duel in order to test his skills on behalf of all the First Order disciples. Such tiresome speeches were not crowned with success, because Chuck instantly received his first lesson from his older brother, and right to his face. Upstart Chuck immediately flew away after such an unexpectedly powerful blow. Marble tiles in this kingdom will soon need general repairs, because today they have already been damaged by all and sundry. Vanessa was shocked, because after their double cultivation, Chuck's strength should have increased 6 times. The lady resorted to the most reliable way to advance her student up the career ladder, because he was on the threshold of the stage of building the foundations. And some brat took him and killed him with one blow. Max showed the impudent man that it was better to treat him politely, because the Holy Master herself had issued such a decree. Chuck clenched in pain. It was hard for him to believe what was happening. He asked how the hero managed to seriously wound him with just one blow. Approaching him, Max clarified that his younger brother had misunderstood him. After all, if he wants, he can not only cripple him, but also kill him with one blow. Realizing that there are stronger people in the world is very difficult for proud and narcissistic upstarts like Chuck. So he was angry. The hero explained that he is now his older brother, so he does not intend to kill the younger ones. He can only punish so that the consequences for disrespect become clear. Vanessa could not withstand the course of moral teaching from Max to her student, so she intervened and ordered him to stop. The woman helped Chuck to his feet and said they were leaving. The sixth elder admitted her mistake, because she had underestimated Muna's student in vain. Max stopped them, reminding them that they were not finished yet. Vanessa believed that wounding Chuck was already the most cruel thing that could happen. But the hero asked not to go to extremes, because now he feels like some kind of hooligan. He continued, saying that the sixth elder lost and now must fulfill his request. Vanessa told him to forget about the argument, because he might get into trouble. But trouble is Max's natural habitat, so he reminded the woman that if she breaks her oath to heaven, she herself will suffer. This cunning young man initially planned everything very well. Nothing threatens his life. Vanessa also knew very well that if she broke her oath, she would be instantly punished by heaven. There was no point in making such a sacrifice. She could only accept defeat, gritting her teeth. The sixth elder asked what Max's request was, but also asked not to go too far with his desires. The hero answered her that he demanded that the woman bow down before Muna and apologize. Such a request hit Vanessa's pride, and she became even more angry. The seventh elder insisted that she did not need the sixth sister's apology. She said that it was better for the guy to ask for something for himself. But Max answered with a smile that he only needed everyone's good attitude towards his master. This would be a good thing for him. Muna was very surprised, because the guy refused the opportunity that everyone strives for, only to stand up for her. The little lady still tried to dissuade him somehow, but Max was firm in his decision. The young man told her to simply silently accept the apology from the man who came here to laugh at her problems. He also insisted that such people need to be put in their place on time, otherwise they will not change. Old man Luca wept with happiness, because since the young lady was wounded, everyone did not miss the opportunity to mock her. And today, the young master took revenge on them for all the evil. Helen did not deny the fact that their family finally had a man with dignity who would not offend his master. Lucas was a little embarrassed, because he also considered himself a man. But the second lady did not understand his claim, because he is already old and very sensitive. Old man Lucas did not consider his age to be an obstacle to courage, so he continued to be indignant. But Helen still remained unconvinced. Vanessa suggested that Max change his requirements, so that in the future they could get along normally. But the hero answered her that he was not going to intersect with her in the future, so he would not change anything. He looked into her eyes and asked very seriously, "Will she bow before Muna or writhe from heavenly punishment?" His words infuriated the sixth mistress. She ordered her not to go too far. But these threats pacified the heavens, which were already ready to punish the liar for failure to fulfill his duty. Max sovereignly said that if a woman wants to attack him, then let her try. After all, as soon as she takes an enemy step towards him, the heavenly Tao will overtake her instantly. Vanessa realized the seriousness of breaking her oath. The woman vowed to take revenge on Max for everything he did today, because she would never forget or forgive it. And yet the sixth lady knelt before her seventh sister. He admitted his guilt to her and apologized in bow. After this, the heavenly wrath dissipated, and Vanessa and Chuck immediately left this place. Max admired the way the sixth elder bowed beautifully and was worried that this would make him sleep poorly. Muna was more worried that the guy had seriously angered her sixth sister. The hero did not understand why the little lady was afraid, because he was sure that as soon as she gained strength and returned to her former appearance, they would easily deal with all ill-wishers. Max said that even though his master looks like a child, she is still strong. The reminder of the girl's weak appearance greatly inflamed the seventh elder, but the guy just wanted to say that he would help her regain her former appearance. That is, turn from a girl into a woman. But Muna decided to postpone these healings until later, because she had something important to tell. The seventh lady began the story. The reason why the Holy Master continued to insist that she accept disciples was because they had found a secret realm in the sanctuary battlefield. This is a space-time array with which you can travel across the boundaries of time. Only a select few can enter here, and in the entire Holy Land, only Muna knows how to manage this. Olivia therefore demands to train students to support control over the secret kingdom. Max didn't see anything wrong with this, because it seemed funny to him to be able to control such a powerful thing. He even fantasized about how he would return to Earth and rule everyone thanks to his incredible body. He even tried on the role of the god of war, only Muna brought him down from heaven to Earth, saying that before him she had 37 students, and despite their incredible talent, they all died in that secret kingdom. And then Max began to understand what he had gotten himself into. The little lady continued to say that she did not want to send innocent people to their deaths, so she took a weak candidate as her student. But it turned out that he is not trash, but a genius. It even seemed to Muna that all this was God's will, and it should be so. After her words, the hero understood why she beat him after he demonstrated his strength. After all, the master just wanted to protect the guy from death. Max also accepted the fact that he was finally showing off. He had a good relationship with the master and somehow didn't want to believe that now he would die. Helen argued that it was too late to turn back, because by the will of the Holy Master, the young man would inevitably end up on the battlefield of the sanctuary anyway. The second elder encouraged the hero that he would do everything possible to increase his strength and break the circle of deaths. These words really inspired Max, because he didn't want to die, but becoming stronger was the best thing. Therefore, he began to demand that Helen take him to the alchemy room and feed him pills. The young man hurried her, because they had been talking for so long, during which time the floor of the medical warehouse could have been emptied. Celine was glad that she finally found the only person in the entire sect who could adequately evaluate her pills. Max claimed that her pills were as round and tasty as the second mistress herself looked. In general, these two found each other and were able to become friends. Old man Lewis turned to the little lady. He asked if she believed in the success of the young master. After all, over the past 2 days, the guy was able to demonstrate quite a few miracles. But Muna herself did not hope that the hero would be able to seize control of the secret kingdom. She just wanted to believe that he would survive. Meanwhile, miracles of healing took place in the secret kingdom of Ling Han. Vanessa and Chuck were engaged in pair cultivation. The woman shared her chi energy with him. After completing the process, the sixth lady inquired about his well-being to make sure that he was better. The student stood up and thanked his master, because all his wounds had almost healed. She said that she could not calmly endure his pain. She also claimed that she would have a hard time with Chuck's absence in her life. The guy only apologized in response for making her worry. Chuck took great pleasure in courting his master, so he kindly offered to help her get dressed. During the process, the young man claimed that he would do everything possible to get rid of Max. But Vanessa was sure that the paired cultivation technique would not work here. The sixth elder said that she had found a furnace for him that could be used to improve his strength. Chuck didn't understand what kind of stove we were talking about, so he decided to clarify. But Vanessa said that she would tell everything in detail and show her when she returned. The woman turned to the student and said that he would really like her find. After this, the sixth mistress left, leaving behind an energy tail. Chuck, looking after her, thanked her for her concern. But most of all, he wanted not the oven, but Vanessa herself. Licking his lips, this maniac dreamed of only one thing: eat a woman to the last drop. God knows whether he's literal or not, but it's still a little scary. In the secret kingdom of Bashan, Helen could no longer wait for Max to see all her treasures. The hero considered the woman even more impatient than himself, and now this moment has come. Entering the building, it was difficult to focus, because every jar beckoned. There were a lot of them, huge closets with a bunch of drawers right up to the ceiling. Helen said that the oldest ones here are more than 100 years old, and she will not give them up. But Max was determined to empty the most terrible savings, despite the fact that no one dared to touch them. The hero rushed around the warehouse, enjoying everything. The worse the pill, the more joy there was, and if it also stank, then for him, it was generally wonderful. The second lady could not believe that someone was so happy about her pills, because for many years, people in the sect shunned them. The woman wiped away a tear of joy and went to prepare more pills, because she was sure that Max would now eat everything. The hero wasted no time in taking the pills. He ate them with delight, like a skilled taster. I didn't intend to go over it because not everyone gets such an opportunity. The system issued a notification that the guy received as many as 1,000 Qianlong energy points at a time. Max remembered that he was able to evade the attacks of the 4th expert-level elder with only 100 points. And here, there are already 1,000. It was hard to imagine the entire spectrum of his current strength. The system congratulated the hero on receiving so many points and activated a new skill that allowed him to copy anything. The guy thought about what to copy in order to test a new skill. And then I decided to copy the pill that I was holding in my hand. The system obediently carried out his will, and instantly there were 2 pills in his hand. Max rejoiced at his new abilities, looking at the pills with interest. But looking up, he read that it took as many as 99 points of dragon energy. The hero was not too happy about this, because he considered 99 points to be too high a price. After this, the guy suddenly thought, what if he accumulated 1,000,000 points? He began to fantasize that with so many points, he could copy the girl for double pleasure and entertainment. But such bold dreams could not last forever, because they embarrassed him very much. But dreaming is not harmful, so Max decided to eat all the pills and start making his dream come true. Meanwhile, loud explosions were heard in the alchemy room. Helen sadly looked at her spoiled pills, because every attempt she made to create something worthwhile was crowned with failure. The second elder even began to think that she would never be able to create the necessary pills again, because she had completely lost her abilities. But the lady was not going to give up, because Max even liked spoiled medicines. She wanted with all her heart to create something useful for him. Suddenly, Kai burst into her room and emotionally announced that the 4th elder had arrived. Helen did not understand the reason for her visit, but the student reported that Felina wanted to take the stove for herself. The second elder became wary and asked on what basis this woman decided to dispose of the alchemical equipment. Felina had been eavesdropping all this time and, having caught the moment, appeared, claiming that she had every right to take what was hers. After all, the Holy Master herself ordered the stove to be taken away. Helen saw revenge in this action. After all, the 4th sister is just angry because she lost to Muna. Felina did not deny that there was a share of revenge in her actions. Sitting down on the table, she argued that Helen herself was to blame, because she took the side of the 7th sister. Second Lady defended Muna, speaking of her great sacrifice for the sect. And now that she has suffered from injustice, everyone is trying to annoy her even more. But Felina was sure that the seventh sister was to blame for her troubles, because it was she who seduced her older brother. And if Muna hadn't bothered him, he would have chosen the fourth sister. Only the woman herself believed in this, because only a layer coveted this dried fruit. This is exactly what Helen focused on. Felina would have liked to get up and put her second sister in her place for such words, but a crunch in her back stopped her. So she simply changed the subject. The fourth elder ordered the stove to be given to her, but Helen still said that she had no right to it. The fact is that the Holy Master decreed that soon the secret kingdom will be opened, and Felina, as the elder in charge of internal affairs, must take the furnace in order to make spiritual pills for the disciples of the sect with the help of alchemists. The second sister objected, because she considered herself capable of making the required amount of spiritual pills and did not need the help of outside alchemists. Felina began to burst into laughter at this. She reminded her sister that she had long ago lost her abilities. She even dared to say that she was kept in the sect out of pity, so as not to hurt her fragile pride. The fourth elder looked into her eyes and asked with a smirk if Helen had the same strength as she had on the battlefield. The second sister, with a trembling voice, tried to prove that she was suitable for creating pills. Felina replied that it was suitable, but only for making garbage. She mockingly said that no one wants to eat her pills, only Max doesn't take them out of great intelligence. As they say, remember the sun, and here comes a ray. The hero, hearing the raised tones, immediately rushed over. Max fell at the feet of the case and praised her pills. Only they were already over and the guy came to demand more. Felina didn't expect to see him here. The woman was shocked that the young man was on his knees begging his second sister for a new portion of her medicine. Helen looked with a smile at the only admirer of her work. Max spoke about her pills in the best possible light and insisted that all his thoughts were only about them. They were polite to each other, completely forgetting about the fourth elder. Therefore, Felina told them to stop behaving like that. Max, seeing the woman, immediately took a defensive pose, because he was sure that she had come to take revenge. But the fourth lady said that she, as an elder, is above revenge, and came simply to take her alchemical furnace from Helen. The hero did not expect to meet this vile snake so soon, but at the same time he decided to put it in its place now, since there is such an opportunity. The second elder, with a downcast look, apologized to the guy, because now she will not be able to prepare pills for him. This frankly infuriated Max. He shouted right in Belina's face that Helen was the best alchemist in the sect, and her pills were amazing. The woman told the guy to lower his tone and not forget who he was talking to. She also said that the hero is used to eating waste, so he is happy. And the entire sect knows that the second elder herself has now become useless trash, and only someone as sick in the head as Max can absorb her medicine. After these words, the hero understood why Helen was so happy when he praised her pills, because she could no longer make them for others. The second elder loves alchemy so much, but her love was taken away from her. Moreover, they also put pressure on her scars. Felina did not miss the opportunity to remind her sister that for 100 years, she had not created anything worthwhile. That's why she demanded that the stove be given to her so that the pills could be made by professionals. But the hero asked again who could doubt Helen's ability to work as an alchemist. To which the fourth lady replied that everyone in the Holy Land of the Yuan dynasty knows about this. Based on her answer, the guy suggested making a bet. Felina decided to clarify what exactly. Max said if the second mistress copes with the task, then the woman will owe him a wish. And in case of defeat, he will take the stove, and he will personally kneel in front of it on behalf of Helen and Muna to apologize for his insolence. Felina answered with a grin that she was not interested in the young man's bows, but if the seventh elder herself bowed to her, then she was in business. At that moment, Muna entered the room, who heard everything. She was confident in the machinations of her student, so she personally confirmed that if she lost, she would kneel before the fourth sister. Max and Helen were very happy to see her, even though she just came to check how they were doing here. Felina felt awkward, because it was one thing to discuss a person in his absence, and another in his presence. The hero whispered in his master's ear whether she was afraid that her student would lose. But Muna replied that in case of defeat she would only have to kneel, but he would die in agony. This cunning guy said that he had planned everything well for a long time, and the seventh lady's knees would not get dirty. She told him to talk less and get down to business. Their conversation was interrupted by Helen, who dissuaded them from arguing, because she was no longer confident in her abilities. Max immediately rushed to console her. He demanded that the elder pull herself together and not panic, because he has a plan. The green-eyed lady agreed hesitantly. Muna watched her student with a smile, because she knew that even though he has a tongue without bones, he never wastes words, and Felina will fall for his tricks, just like Vanessa did earlier. Max ran up to the fourth elder and asked if she was ready to argue. The woman did not hide the fact that she couldn't wait to see Muna and her student bow down before her, so she agreed. She didn't know where the young man got such confidence, but she knew for sure that Helen was mediocre and would not cope with the task. Therefore, she believed that she could not lose. The hero admired Felina's attitude and asked her to take an oath before heaven, so that everything would be fair. The fourth lady was indignant that they did not take her word for it, but Max took her weakly. Said she just didn't have the courage to swear to the heavens. The guy assured that he understood such a biased attitude towards him on the part of some high-ranking masters, but did not deny that they were all afraid of losing like cowardly mice. These words caught Felina's attention, and she still agreed. The fourth elder said her name and swore an oath to heaven, promising in case of loss to fulfill any wish of Max, and was ready to accept punishment for breaking the oath. The hero praised the woman for such a courageous act, which characterizes her as a generous person with a big heart. This blatant lie only angered the elder. She told him to talk less and get down to business. She couldn't wait to see how her useless sister with a bad reputation in alchemy could create a good pill. Max suggested inviting more students to the performance so that everyone could see Helen at work. Felina was only too happy to disgrace her sister in front of the entire sect, so she could not refuse. Kai and the teacher became nervous. They did not expect that the dispute would reach such proportions. Muna reassured the green-eyed elder, citing the fact that Max can be trusted, because earlier he had just as cleverly deceived Vanessa. Helen was unsure, but promised to do everything she could and trust the young master. The hero turned to Kai with a request to gather as many students as possible so that they could look at the work of the second elder. He also asked me to tell everyone that the first 100 students would receive a reward in the form of a spiritual energy pill. Helen's disciple bowed and left to complete the task. As soon as the news spread, the alchemy area was immediately filled with a huge crowd of students. They discussed what was happening among themselves. Someone said that the second elder had not practiced for hundreds of years, and someone decided that they simply decided to get rid of her in front of everyone, and in shame. Felina said that a lot of people had already gathered, and in principle, we could begin. Max agreed and asked what kind of pill Helen would need to prepare, specifically giving the choice to the opponent in the dispute. The fourth elder said that she and the second miss are fellow practitioners, so she is asking for a first-grade lunar beginning pill with good intentions. To make it clear what they needed to deal with, the woman threw this pill into Max's hands. She also added that if the energy of the lunar principle in the pill is at least half as much as this one, then Helen will win. The hero deliberately looked alarmed and was indignant at such strictness in the elder's demands. But the woman, feeling superior, argued that since she had been given the right to choose, she had the right to make demands. Clearly, the fourth lady had conceived a trap. After all, she herself came across this pill by luck, because it is very rare. The woman understood perfectly well that even a good alchemist is not always able to repeat such a miracle, and Helen certainly was. The young master, looking into Felina's eyes, recognized her as very witty. But in my mind, I rejoiced at the fact that even though she is insidious, she cannot control everything. Holding a rare pill in his hands, the guy quickly used the copying system skills, spending 99 energy points. In this situation, it was not a pity to spend them, and in a matter of seconds, everything was ready. The fourth elder told Max to quickly get to work, because she had done her part of the work. The woman was very confident in herself, and did not notice the catch. Max threw one pill into her hands and said that he was not afraid of her at all and was ready. At this moment, Helen turned to the hero. She said that she was not able to make even the most ordinary pill, let alone such a rare one. The guy came closer to her, took her hand and said that he believed in her with all his heart and she would cope. Holding the young man's hand, the second elder felt that he had handed her a ready-made version of that same pill, and it was of very high quality. Max winked at her and said that we could start. The green-eyed lady wasted no time flying up to the alchemical furnace. She didn't know how the hero got this pill, but decided to follow his plan. Helen decided that she just needed to throw the pill into the furnace using a blanket of flame to pass it off as her creation. Inspired, the second lady decided to win this competition. So she threw everything that came to hand into the oven for greater effect. The crowd of onlookers was loudly discussing the actions of the second elder. But no one believed that she could cope. Felina also looked at her sister's work with a grin, and was already imagining how she would be thrown out of the sect with a filthy broom. A couple of minutes later, the oven exploded, blazing with fire. The disciples burst into laughter, being confident of the complete failure of the second elder. The fourth lady, also with full confidence in her victory, approached Helen to mock her, but the second sister turned around and said that she had not lost, because the pill was ready. Felina's lower jaw almost fell out of shock. The second elder handed her that same pill with a smile and said that she had won. The fourth lady could not believe her eyes, because the sister was really holding in her hands not a burnt coal, but a rare treasure. The mood of the public also changed. Everyone suddenly began to say that someone had deliberately slandered Helen, and that in fact she was an excellent alchemist. Felina had even begun to stoop to the level of insults. She insisted that Helen was useless and simply could not do something like that. But Max invited the woman to see for herself whether the pill met the requirements. The fourth elder angrily snatched the pill from her sister's hands to catch them in a lie. But comparing the two pills, she lost the power of speech, and her hands began to shake. With great chagrin, Felina had to admit that the pills were exactly the same. Onlookers admired Helen's abilities, because in the world, there cannot be two rare pills of the same quality. Even a master of alchemy cannot always reach this level. It's impossible to fake something like that. So the disciples had no doubt about the second elder's talent. With horror in her eyes, the fourth lady dropped the pills, admitting her loss. She even began to think that Helen was hiding her strength. At this difficult moment for the woman, Max decided to completely finish her off, reminding her that she owed him a wish. The students did not know about the bet, but after the hero's words, it became clear to them why so many people had gathered here. In anger, Felina told Max to forget about his desires. Otherwise, she would not be responsible for herself. But our boy had already been through this, so he decided to put the woman in her place. He said that he did not care about her anger and threats, because if she did not fulfill her promise, then heaven would punish her. At this moment, the fourth lady realized that the guy had thought about everything in advance, which is why he forced her to take an oath to heaven. With fear of the wrath of the heavenly Tao, the woman asked the young master to voice her wish. Max answered with a smile. He wanted Felina to kneel down and apologize to the second elder. Such a humiliating desire drove the fourth mistress out of herself. After all, she didn't want to crawl on her knees in front of the crowd. But the power of heaven reminded her of the rules of the game loudly and with lightning. The hero said with a grin that since the woman does not want to, then let her accept the wrath of heaven. Realizing that there was no way out, the fourth elder agreed to fulfill his wish. With her aching old knees, arrogant Felina bowed before Helen and asked forgiveness for being so rude to her. The second elder, with tears in her eyes, suddenly realized that she had been waiting for an apology from her for 100 years. But after hearing what she heard, she realized that it was not worth wasting her life waiting for them. Looking at the sky, the second lady also realized that you need to live for yourself and go your own way, not paying attention to those who do not love you. A huge stone suddenly fell from her soul and scattered into dust in the wind. Having accepted herself as she is, the original spiritual flame returned to her, giving her strength as 100 years ago. The crowd of disciples continued to discuss that 100 years ago, Helen's spirit flame fell into a deep sleep due to an accident, and today she found it again. Muna could not hide her joy for her sister, because she had finally defeated her demons and regained her strength. The master of alchemy is back. Felina thought that the second elder had regained her strength much earlier, because she could not explain in any other way that she could not repeat the immortality pill. At the same time, the woman decided to urgently tell her older brother about this, so that their grandiose plans would not collapse. Getting away from the place of shame, the fourth elder threatened the guy not to forget today, because in 3 days, they will meet in the secret kingdom of Rongyan. But Max wasn't really scared, because he knew that in any case he would be able to resist her. The hero shouted after Felina that he was no longer afraid of her and was looking forward to meeting her. While he was shouting, Helen appeared behind him. Her appearance has become much better. She addressed him, coming closer. The second mistress pressed the guy to her chest and did not stop thanking him. She said that if it weren't for him, the girl would have withered away in the complexes and contempt of others. Helen was very carried away by the hug, so she did not immediately notice that she was involuntarily strangling Max. After recovering from the euphoria, the second elder also noticed that half the sect of disciples was staring at them. She released Max and addressed the crowd in a serious tone, promising to give 10 spiritual energy pills to everyone who came today. The disciples were very happy, because they were never given one more. Therefore, everyone thanked the second elder from the bottom of their hearts. But Helen said that if there was anyone to thank, it was Max. The crowd understood and began to thank the hero from the bottom of their hearts, bowing to him almost to the ground. The guy himself realized that she did this to raise his authority among first-order students. Max thanked Helen for this kind gesture, but the second lady insisted that this was the least she could do for him as a token of her gratitude. And henceforth, she told him not to bow to her when he met. Kai turned to his master, expressing his worries that 10 pills for each student was a lot. He wasn't sure Helen could make such a large quantity of medicine at once. But the second elder proudly declared that she had restored her original spiritual flame, so she could do anything. The hero was very surprised by such a spectacular approach to work. But Muna was happy, because her second sister had not prepared pills with such dedication for more than 100 years. The seventh elder said that it was all thanks to Max. The guy himself was already embarrassed by the praise of his master. The second elder worked hard. The furnace continually created more and more pills. Helen directed them into the crowd so that everyone would receive what was promised. The students caught the pills like hot cakes and admired the talent of the elder alchemist. They hoped that so many pills would help them get into the secret realm of Rongyan, where only second-tier disciples could enter. Muna, having heard about this kingdom, immediately ordered everyone to disperse and give the second elder a rest. The crowd obediently fled, and an awkward silence hung between the elders, which was accompanied by their gloomy faces. Max asked why they dispersed everyone and are standing dissatisfied. Muna explained that it was all because of the mention of a secret kingdom that he would soon be going to, but the hero could not understand what was wrong with this. The elders said that under other circumstances it would have been good. But now, Vanessa and Felina will be the main ones at the opening of the secret kingdom, and they will be unfriendly towards Max. Even the Holy Master is unlikely to intercede for him. After all, it is known that Olivia wants the hero to grow up in conditions of suppression and struggle. Even if Max can't stand the crush and dies, then the Holy Master will not regret his death, because if he is not a genius, then she doesn't care. Helen encouraged the seventh sister, promising to do everything possible to prevent Max from dying. The second elder turned to the hero, guaranteeing him a large number of the highest quality pills, to which the guy objected, saying that he prefers more poisonous and toxic medications, but the good ones don't work on him. Hearing this, Helen understood why he had been eating her defective pills all this time and was happy, but still considered this to be a peculiarity of the young man's body. The green-eyed lady thought about what could be prepared that was so toxic and came up with an idea. In her arsenal there was one gloomy recipe. While making it, the stove ignited with green fire. Max was incredibly happy that they were preparing something so toxic for him and admired the second elder out loud. After some time, Helen joyfully notified everyone that she had prepared the necessary poison. Looking at this liquid, it was not difficult to guess that it was extremely deadly. Old Man Lucas and Kai looked in horror at the creation of the second mistress. The woman alchemist herself said that this poison is the progenitor of all poisons. I want you to die 3,000 times. This is the name of poison. The demonstration of this toxic substance made everyone a little afraid of Helen. When the second elder was on the battlefield in the sanctuary, she tested the toxicity of the poison on a third-rank earthen dragon. As a result, the dragon died a terrible death, and its spiritual core exploded. Such information made the blood in the veins of those present cool. But this is not the whole story, because the corpse of the dragon fell to the ground, painting it for tens of miles around in a bloody scarlet color. For several decades there were no more flying crows, no more people, no animals, no more bones. With every word she said, the guys were already trembling in horror. But that's not all. After all, later, a master at the Diantan stage accidentally entered the Forbidden Land and accidentally touched the bones of the Earth Dragon. After this, he died instantly. Well, in general, everyone understood the full power of this poison. Max even wondered if his weak physique could withstand the toxin. But in any case, if he can't digest it, he'll just vomit. Even Kai began to worry about the hero, because the poison was really very strong. But Helen assured that since the guy had such a nature in his body, nothing could be done. The second elder also warned that the poison does not work immediately. It must be taken 30 times a day, for 3 days. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief, because if the reception is rationed, then there is nothing to be afraid of. Max, in joy, hurried to quickly accept this hellish miracle of alchemy, because he had little time before the opening of the entrance to the secret kingdom began. But Helen moved the glass away from the guy with a smile, because he didn't need to drink it. After all, the trick of this poison is that it must be injected intramuscularly with a syringe. The hero was not particularly happy about this, because the syringe in her hands was so huge that it could pierce a person right through. Celine bent him with her foot so that the guy couldn't escape and said that he had nothing to be afraid of, because he definitely wouldn't die, and maybe even get high. The guy's soft buns were already squeezing at the mere sight of this giant needle. But it was too late to run, the hellish pain from penetration overtook him instantly. 3 days later, it was the turn of the last dose. Max, as if weak, awaited the end of this torment. Helen excitedly grabbed the syringe and headed to complete the procedure. These injections made the hero's legs cramp from pain. But then the moment came when the poison had already been completely poured into his body and was soon to begin to act. Suddenly, the second elder noticed how Max began to twitch and emit strange energy. In a matter of seconds, the young master was surrounded by a huge energy ball, which was full of lightning and darkness. The system discovered the deadly poison in you, the owner, and announced the beginning of the transformation of the toxin into Qianlong energy. The system window congratulated Max on receiving 10,000 energy points, because he now has access to the ability to concentrate his soul. There was also the ability to create a battle chi pill that could explode with a force equivalent to the impact of the Foundation Creation Realm peak. Max was shocked by the new possibilities because they were colossally powerful. He decided to test a new skill and ordered the system to concentrate this pill. Therefore, 1,000 energy points were spent on it. Seeing the result, the guy was slightly embarrassed, because it looked like a pill, more like a grenade. The system scanned the thoughts of the owner and called the combat pill a grenade. Vanessa also did not waste time and was already watching the fruits of her work with a smile. She had her eye on Dora for a long time, so she decided to use her for paired cultivation of her student. At the end of the process, the sixth elder decided to ask Chuck if he liked her gift. Dora fell to her knees and bowed, thanking the elder for accepting her as a student and allowing her to study with her brother Chuck. The girl said that before, she could not even dream of such rapid cultivation. Chuck himself, looking at the curvaceous forms of his new sister, was pleased with his gift from the master. Vanessa said that from now on the guys should work hard with steel, because steel has its own needs and needs to be met. Dora bowed at the woman's feet and accepted her will, but behind this humility was hidden hatred. After all, the girl did not expect that the sixth elder would take her as an apprentice in order to melt steel in the furnace to prepare pills. Chuck turned to Vanessa. He said that his strength had increased after cultivation, and now he was able to defeat Max in order to wash away the shame of the past. The sixth lady proudly stated that her students had reached the stage of creating the foundations, and Max was only at the stage of chi purification, so he could be killed literally in a second. Vanessa also said that in addition to killing Muna's student, Rongyan's beads should also be taken. This task was not easy, because the beads were the basis of the entire secret kingdom of Rongyan, and Chuck directly said that he was not confident in his abilities. The sixth lady threw the student a map of the location of the beads on the peak, saying not to be afraid of anything, because she claimed that if something happened, someone would help them. Having finished with the stories, the woman ordered them to go to the secret kingdom. When leaving on a mission, everyone thought about their own benefit. Chuck, for example, already imagined how he would reach the Diantan stage with these beads and defeat the master with one finger. Dora didn't really know what kind of beads they were, but she was sure that they were very valuable. Having got them, the girl dreamed of getting rid of this disgusting sweet couple of master and student. When the sixth elder's chambers were free, the most welcome guest, Alan, suddenly stopped by. The stunningly handsome older brother asked if everything was ready. Vanessa, like a naive girl, claimed that she would do for him whatever he wanted. Alan stroked the woman's face and said that she had better be obedient, because his transition to the Dantang stage and the opportunity to become the most powerful person in the Holy Land depends on this. The sixth lady was ready to help her elder brother reach these heights, and left alone, these two merged with their energy flows behind a thin curtain. In the secret kingdom of Taiyashu, the preparation of the young master was in full swing. Everyone gathered around the energy ball, waiting for Max to appear. After all, it's time to go on a mission, but he still hasn't left. Old man Lucas even thought that the boy died from that ominous poison, but Helen reassured everyone. She said that the guy was endowed with a special physique, and everything would be fine with him. And as soon as the second mistress said this, Max immediately broke through. The young man landed deftly, enjoying himself and his coolness. He thought that the second and seventh ladies were very worried about him, so he took this opportunity to hug them. But something didn't go according to plan, and old Lucas, who was probably the most nervous of all, embraced Max. These strong family ties were severed by Muna. She said that entering the secret realm of Rongyan is new opportunities and difficult trials at the same time. Therefore, the seventh lady decided to give him the golden heavenly killing pill. Helen knew that this was the pill that Moon received in the secret realm of space and time. Everyone understood the value of this pill, except Max. He heard about it for the first time. Muna explained that the golden pill of heavenly killing is beyond the capabilities of this world. Before it became a pill, it was tempered by thunder, and even the heavens tried to extinguish it, which is why it got its name. Helen was indignant, because this rare pill could help Muna herself recover. And besides, its effect is unknown. Max also began to doubt whether he needed her. The guy claimed that only poisons and toxins were suitable for him, but this one would not work on him. But the seventh elder said that the energy in the young man's body was somewhat similar to the energy of the pill. She also assumed that Max's body and this pill could restore her true body. Still, our hero could not hold back tears of joy and thanked his master from the bottom of his heart. Helen also decided, as an elder, to give Max a valuable gift. She had made 200,000 spiritual energy pills in the past few days and given them to the boy. The young master was already jumping up and down from such generosity. He swore, if necessary, even to give his life for Helen. Old man Lucas, like everyone else, decided to give the young man something valuable from himself. From his deep sleeve, he took out an ordinary abacus, claiming that this thing could save his life. Max didn't understand how exactly this would help him, but still silently accepted the gift so as not to offend the old man. The moment has come to begin sending Rongyan to the secret kingdom. Near the portal, campaigning was in full swing to recruit more students to create worthy teams. Each announced his strength and offered a decent payment for the support of his team. Vanessa and Felina, as guards, discussed the readiness of everything to begin, because they couldn't wait to take it out on Max for his antics. The fourth elder said that she had already put the guy's token in the fire pool with poison, so that when he teleported, he would go straight there. The woman was sure that even if he did not die there, he would definitely remain crippled. The sixth elder was very happy about this, because as long as Muna's disciple is alive, they will have a lot of trouble. Felina also said that Max is just a trifle. The most important thing is not to delay the plan. Vanessa was surprised that her sister was aware of her older brother's plans because she thought that he only told her about them. The fourth lady, wearing camouflage, said that Alan asked her to help with the implementation of his plans. It turns out that Felina was the mysterious person whom the elder brother appointed as Chaka's assistant. In parting, the fourth elder with a grin asked her sister not to be surprised, saying that she and Alan had a very close relationship. Looking after her, Vanessa promised to someday punish her impudent sister for taking her older brother away from her. The crowd was buzzing with bidding and enticing students to join their teams. Max asked Kai why he didn't go to the secret kingdom of Rongyan, to which the second elder's student replied, "Since he is an alchemist, he already has a flame inside him, therefore these tests will not teach him anything new." The hero looked at Helen's student with disbelief. When the crowd saw Max, they immediately rushed to join his team. They considered him very cool and strong, claiming that they always admired him. The guy really liked this popularity. He could no longer hide his superiority, but he abruptly changed his tone in order to seem mysterious and wanted to put forward the conditions for selection. Suddenly he was interrupted by a loud ringing. A representative of Chuck's team invited everyone to join their ranks, promising each participant 20 spiritual energy pills. He also insisted that there is no maximum number of participants. After hearing about 20 spiritual pills, the crowd immediately forgot about Max. After all, this was even more than the second elder gave. And those who a minute ago idolized our hero suddenly found themselves among Chuck's fans. The young man clung to everyone, begging them not to leave, because he didn't really want to lose face in the dirt. Max couldn't believe that people fell for 20 pills, and not for his spiritual energy. But suddenly the guy noticed a student who stayed behind. Max began to praise the only candidate for the team for his insight and the right choice. But everything was not quite like that. The plump boy stayed for a different reason. He wanted to follow everyone, but someone stepped on his foot and now from pain, the student cannot even move from his place. The chubby student asked Max to bring him to Chuck's team so that he could be given 20 spiritual energy pills. The hero angrily grabbed the student and said that if he stayed with him, he would receive his 20 pills. Dora intervened in this conversation, looking at Max from above. She asked if Max was still as petty as before, and was not able to give his candidates more than 20 pills. Our hero knew that this cunning snake got into the sect only thanks to his arrogance, which also had not gone away since their last meeting. Dora proudly took out a bottle and stated that the sixth elder gave her as many as 1,000 spiritual pills. The girl began to laugh in Max's face, claiming that he would never see such a quantity. The hero replied that he really had never seen such a small amount, because he was given 200,000. And he wasted no time demonstrating this to everyone. Looking at this huge amount of spiritual pills, Dora was completely speechless. Chuck was also shocked because he didn't understand what this guy did to deserve such a gift. and the whole crowd of students with their mouths open watched this. They haven't seen so many pills since they were born, so they recognized Max's older brother as very cool. They all instantly forgot about those merciless 20 pills, and were already sucking up to the hero with all their might to become part of his team. But our guy didn't fall for it. He scattered all these traitors in one fell swoop. Max said that he does not need such jackals, because he recognizes only devoted people who can be with him in difficulties and enjoys. The hero turned to the plump guy, saying that since he was the only one left with him, he would be rewarded. To begin with, the young master gave him 2,000 spiritual pills, promising to give him more if these were not enough. Plump Jack did not expect that fortune would turn his way today. Suddenly, another student appeared, who claimed that she also stayed with him. The beauty demanded that she also be paid 2,000 pills for her devotion. Max did not expect that among the students there were also such beautiful faces, because before he only looked at the elders. Jack, like a spring flower, rejoiced at such generosity of his older brother. He said that he would go through fire and water for his sake. But the hero, inspired by his new beautiful companion, did not even want to listen to the plump guy, claiming that he could do without him. But Jack was in a hurry to warn the hero that this girl is dangerous, and it's better not to mess with her. She has such a stunning body, it really looked dangerous, because Max could not resist and lose control over his desires. But the danger was a little different. This girl's name is Rose. She is the 5th Elder's disciple. Our hero did not understand how dangerous this could be. Jack explained that the 5th Elder had stolen one of the sect's greatest treasures, namely the Ice Pearl. After that, she ran away, leaving behind only a lonely Rose. The chubby guy also added that now the girl is an outcast in the sect, so he claimed that a relationship with her would bring trouble and disrepute. At this moment, Max realized why he had never met the 5th Elder before. Rose turned to the hero, reminding him that she wanted to get her 2,000 pills. The guy replied that he did not consider it appropriate to give a girl with such a special status 2,000 pills. She was very upset, because she thought that Max, like everyone else in the sect, wanted to mock her. Jack rejoiced at her departure, and the fact that his older brother did not fall for the girl's beauty. But the young master was not finished, so he stopped Rose. He continued his thought, explaining that he wanted to give her a lot more pills, and not some measly 2,000. In one fell swoop, Max gave Rose 20,000 spirit pills. For the first time in a long time, the disciple of the 5th Elder saw herself treated well, which was very surprising. Jack began to panic, thinking that his older brother had not only become a victim of Rose's beauty, but had completely lost his head. Gathering his mini-team, Max told them to collect their pills because the portal would open soon. Plump Jack asked the hero to rethink his decision about Rose, because he was afraid of her company. The hero got angry and explained to his comrade that he took this girl to his team not because of her beautiful face, but because he saw a good person in her. Jack continued to drown because if they were with her, the entire sect would turn against them. To which Max was even more indignant, because it was the 5th Elder who went against the clan, and not Rose herself. Therefore, he saw no reason to treat her badly. The culprit of this dispute herself was very surprised by such warm words from the hero. After all, he is not like everyone else. He sees the soul. Jack decided to twist everything in his favor and began to press for pity, claiming that he was also being bullied. Therefore, he asked his elder brother to take pity on him and also give him 10 or 20,000 pills. But Max, instead of spiritual pills, gave him a blessing in the ass. A crowd of disciples had already gathered near the portal to the secret kingdom and loudly greeted the 6th Elder. Vanessa warned the students to be careful, because teleportation will happen in a random order, and it is not known in front of which place in the secret kingdom they will end up. The woman also warned the public that people from the same team must hold hands, otherwise they will be taken to completely different places. The 6th Elder is ours, in Max's opinion. She did not expect that he would be able to find comrades in arms. The hero understood that a week ago he very much insulted Vanessa, so he expected that there would be a catch. The guy grabbed his new friends by the hands so they wouldn't get lost. He told Rose and Jack to be vigilant, because anything could happen. The chubby guy didn't understand why his older brother was acting as if he was standing in front of an enemy, because this was just the entrance to a portal. Max admitted to him that he had previously offended Vanessa. Jack continues to champion optimism, claiming that the 6th Elder is above all these grievances. But the hero explained that she lost to him in a bet, and he forced her to publicly kneel. The plump guy suddenly realized that he was in a very awkward situation, and in order not to push it even deeper, he began to look for a reason to run away. But it was too late. Max grabbed his team and rushed into the portal with all his might. All the students had already gotten inside, except for our 3 extraordinary guys. But they were desperately trying to catch up with everyone. This was Vanessa's sinister plan. She specially raised the level of difficulty for Max to pass through the portal, and watched with a grin as he tried to get there without her help. The young master immediately felt something was wrong, because according to the idea, the portal should have opened immediately. And in this case, the portal is like a wall with protection. It does not let through. The guys were instantly thrown back, and even struck by lightning. Max and Rose landed with dignity, but Jack ran face down on the ground. The chubby boy held his skinned cheeks and almost cried, because he had damaged his precious face. Rose noticed that there is a barrier at the foundation stage on the portal. This was not news for the hero, because he knew that Vanessa would not just back down. The 6th elder waited for the right moment and came closer to them to gloat. The hero once again reminded the woman that he knew very well about her revenge, so he was not surprised. The 6th lady insisted that if he had made concessions to her, and at one time asked her for resources for cultivation, and not public humiliation, he would not have found himself in disgrace. She also said that his trick would cost him dearly, because now she is the one responsible for opening the secret kingdom of Rongyan, and will do everything to prevent him from getting there. Max made it clear to her that treasures and cultivation resources were not of interest to a genius like him. The 6th lady did not hide her laughter. She said that since Max is such a genius, then why couldn't he get into the secret kingdom? Jack began to panic, because it was very important for him to get there. Vanessa turned to the chubby guy, saying that he can get there. He just needs to leave Max's team. But Jack was not going to abandon his older brother, because if he left, he would have to return all the spiritual pills. Rose also refused to leave the team, citing the fact that this is just a training session, not a battlefield. So it's okay if they don't get there. Such devotion made Vanessa very angry, and the veins on her face were swollen. Max thanked the team for their support, and promised to lead them to the secret kingdom at any cost. The 6th elder continued to mock the guy, saying that the barrier was at the foundation stage, so he couldn't get through there at the chi purification stage. The hero took this opportunity to offer Vanessa more salt if she had the courage. The conditions were still the same. If he wins, the elder will fulfill his wish. But the woman had already fallen for his tricks once and didn't want to take any more risks. Max continued to be insolent. He said that if she doesn't have the courage to argue with him, then let her get out of the way and not waste his time. Jack was shocked by such courage of his older brother, because the 6th elder herself was afraid to argue with him. He immediately added his list of prohibitions. The prohibition of arguing with his older brother so as not to get into an awkward situation in the future. The guy's list was quite long. He seemed very concerned about his safety. Vanessa stood at the entrance to the portal and said that she couldn't wait to see how these useless outcasts could get through. But it was not in vain that Max was eager to argue with her. He had a trump card hidden up his sleeve. It was a powerful grenade comparable to the power of the Foundation Creation Peak, so it would not be difficult for him to break through the barrier of the Foundation Creation stage. The grenade flew into the portal and a powerful explosion occurred. And so, the barrier was smashed to smithereens. The 6th elder opened her mouth. She did not expect that the young master had the strength of the peak of the Foundation Creation stage. Rose and Jack were also pleasantly surprised, because it turns out that the older brother was hiding such power. The hero approached his team and said it was time to go. Our unique team was finally able to go on a mission. They deftly slipped through the gap in the portal and the teleport sent them to the given place. Although Vanessa was defeated at the moment, she still hoped for a cunning plan. After all, Max's token was thrown into the lake of fiery poison, so the woman was even glad that he managed to break through the barrier. 2 silhouettes landed near that same deadly lake of fire. Chuck and Dora were specially sent by the master to this terribly dangerous place, so that they personally witnessed the death of Max and his insignificant team. This lake can easily kill chi refinement stage cultivators. While they were discussing this, other students began to appear. The portal carried one of them literally a couple of centimeters from this murderous lake. The guy was very happy that he was carried through, but the second one fell on his head, and they began to fall together. Due to an unsuccessful landing, the 2 instantly fell into the lake of fire. The students screamed in pain and asked for help, but in a matter of seconds, their bodies turned into skeletons. Vanessa's students looked at this spectacle with horror, realizing the danger. Dora literally did not have enough words to convey her emotions from what she saw. She only said that the lake was really very scary. Chuck said that the temperature in the lake exceeds 2,000 degrees. An ordinary person cannot stand it for even a couple of seconds. But even a person at the peak of the chi purification stage will not last a minute in it. The guy also added that there is a fiery toxin in the lake. so even the slightest touch to the water leads to a person losing strength and dying a painful death from poison and fire. The students discussed what they had heard and rejoiced that they were lucky not to end up there. They really couldn't wait to see who else would fall there. Suddenly, their attention was attracted by 3 people who had just entered the secret kingdom and were quickly heading straight into the middle of the lake of fire. It was Max and his team. The public immediately labeled them as losers who were destined to die before even starting the mission. Dora and Chuck, with a smile on their faces, rejoiced at the fact that they could contemplate the death of the 7th Elder's disciple. They were well aware that Max's token was in this lake, so they simply waited for it to get there. Suddenly, Rose noticed that they were being carried straight into the lake of fire. Jack, hearing this, began to panic. While the two were quarreling, Max began to think, because he knew that this was the work of Vanessa. The hero himself is invulnerable to all types of poison, but his team may suffer. These 3 were rapidly falling down. Something urgently needed to be done. But Rose decided not to panic. It didn't seem so bad to die with her friends. The plump guy was frightened by such a quick acceptance of the girl's death. Despite her calmness, he himself did not want to die. Max turned to his team, grabbing their hands tightly. The hero grabbed them and spun them for better effect. Then he powerfully threw them away from himself. Rose and Jack landed safely on land. By that time, Max was already waist-deep in the lake, but still managed to rejoice that everything was fine with his team. Rose wanted to rush to her older brother, but the chubby guy stopped her, begging her not to act recklessly. The girl said that she wanted to help the hero, to which Jack was indignant, claiming that there was nothing left of him because of the toxins of the lake. The 5th Elder's disciple was very upset. She didn't want to believe that Max was dead. The girl's legs gave way from grief. She sat sadly and looked at the lake. For so many years, he was the only person who accepted her. And now he is gone. Jack tried to somehow cheer her up, but they didn't even realize that they were being watched. The mysterious woman in the bushes, watching them, said to herself that so many years had passed, and Rose was still as vulnerable. For her, it was a disappointment. This woman left as unnoticed as she appeared. She had no time to help the girl because she had her own unsettled matters. The sect's disciples wasted no time and immediately came to Max's team to mock him. They laughed at the fact that their older brother died as soon as he entered the secret kingdom. Rose tried to somehow protect her leader and made things up as she went along. The girl claimed that Max ate all the spiritual pills at the last moment to counteract the poison. Chuck came to mock him. He told the girl not to deceive herself and others with such speculation. The 6th Elder's disciple said that everyone knows the power of the Lake of Fire, to which Rosu objected that the lake may be strong, but her older brother is even stronger. She told everyone that she sincerely believed that Max would create a miracle. Chuck decided not to miss the moment and invited the girls to make a bet to avenge the humiliation of their master. He wanted to bet on Max's life. Jack suddenly remembered his list of prohibitions, which said to never argue with his older brother, because even the elders were defeated. Although this time it's not Max himself who makes the bet, the dispute still concerns him, so plump Jack decided to try. Chuck said that if one of them loses, he will voluntarily become a resource for the cultivation of the other. The disciple of the 6th Elder was still sick in the head. He was worried, because earlier Rose was called a jade iceberg, and he really wanted to swallow her dry. The girl herself was a little frightened by the terms of the dispute, because it meant giving herself to this patient if she lost. Her hesitation prompted Chuck to think that she herself did not believe that Max was alive, and that's why she was afraid. Jack intervened in their conversation. He said that he was ready to make a bet, because he was confident in the cunning of his older brother. Chuck looked at the chubby guy with disgust and asked why he was betting on Max and not on him. Jack bit his lip embarrassedly, trying to answer. The chubby guy replied that if he lost, he would voluntarily give himself up to Chuck. But Vanessa's student was shocked by such statements. He did not want this at all, because he is more inclined towards beautiful and strong girls. Jack was indignant. He considered himself worthy of cultivation, and considered his face beautiful. But these words made Chuck more and more angry. The plump guy demanded to enter into an argument with him, even though he was not a model, and Chuck, in turn, told him to shut up, because such talk was starting to make him sick. Rose looked at them from the side and understood that Jack had great faith in Max, which is why he stood his ground so confidently. The girl plucked up courage and agreed to argue with the 6th Elder's student, understanding all the consequences. However, she demanded 200,000 spiritual pills for her winnings, which Vanessa gave him. Chuck agreed, hoping for a sweet victory in Rose's body as a reward. Jack said to carry the bag because he considered it insufficient for only 2 to argue. The chubby guy turned to the crowd of students to place bets. The bets were on whether Max was alive. He said that if he loses, he will pay all participants 10-1, and if he wins, he will receive 3-2. The students were sure that there was not a wet spot left of Max, so they happily agreed to participate. There were many people willing. They literally surrounded Jack. Everyone shouted the number of pills they were betting. Everyone crowded together and even started fighting among themselves to place a bet. Meanwhile, in the depths of the Lake of Fire, our hero received dragon energy points for damage from fire poison. The system congratulated the owner on acquiring 1 million dragon energy points. The special ability to tame beasts has also been activated, but the system window also warned that the more powerful the beast he wants to control, the more energy will be spent. But Max was still happy about this skill, because it gave him the opportunity to pass through the forest of demonic beasts. The hero stretched and decided to emerge, because he had already stayed here too long. But some strange sound attracted the attention of the young master. The lake suddenly became somehow dark and gloomy, as if someone was muddying the water. Turning his head, Max suddenly realized that these sounds were created by a huge fiery snake, which was already staring at him with its yellow eyes. It was the legendary snake of fiery poison. He had once heard Senior Brother Kai mention that this snake was the strongest demonic beast outside of the Rongyan secret realm, its power comparable to the peak of the Foundation creation stage. But still the hero was not upset, because he remembered his new skill of taming animals, and now was the right time to test the new power. He ordered the system to activate the beast taming technique and headed towards the snake. Pointing his hands at the monster's mouth, he activated the taming energy flow. The energy flow of this technique was quite powerful and even engulfed the entire body of the fire serpent. Max was confident that now he would have a beast at the peak of the Foundation stage. These thoughts delighted him, because he really wanted to become the strongest and coolest on the Holy Land. But fantasies and dreams quickly crumbled, because the system said that it was not possible to tame the snake, and 10,000 points for activation were still written off. The hero was horrified that the system did not work, because he did not think that this was even possible. The snake got angry from such tricks, so he immediately rushed to eat the guy, who almost lost his hair from fear. The fire snake swallowed Max in a second. He didn't even have time to utter a word. But the animal remained happy and well-fed. It was dark in the beast's mouth, and the hero realized that he had been eaten. Max was angry at the system for setting him up, but decided not to give up. He took out his grenades, and with a grin decided to give the snake a belly festival so that fireworks would rattle from under its tail. The unsuspecting snake suddenly felt acute agony inside himself. The beast had to burp out its recent meal. Although drooling, Max finally managed to break free. The hero did not want to believe that he could not cope with the snake, so he took out a couple more grenades. These two lovers of a toxic environment fought for the right to lead. From this fight, the Lake of Fire began to rage and shoot out its toxic water. The disciples, seeing this, immediately began to put forward versions of what could have caused this phenomenon. They knew that there was a fire snake there, so they were sure that even if Max had not dissolved from the poison, he would definitely have been eaten by this monster. Jack heard the students' versions and nervously asked Rose if she still believed that her older brother was alive. The girl replied that everything was fine with him, but Chuck intervened in their conversation, who claimed that half an hour had already passed, and even the elders could not withstand so much, and Max even more so. Looking at Rose, the sixth elder's disciple licked his lips disgustingly and said that she had lost. After this, he rushed to the girl, claiming that she was now his property. But Rose removed his dirty hands from her and ordered him not to touch her. Such obstinacy only aroused Chuck's desire more. But the disciple of the fifth elder decided, even at the cost of her life, to escape the hands of this scoundrel. She was not going to give herself to such a person, as he proudly declared. The girl jumped and decided to dive into the Lake of Fire. She wanted to follow her older brother, who saved her by sacrificing himself. But her plan was destroyed by Vanessa's restless student, who was not going to let his victim go so easily. He stood in her way and swung with all his might, concentrating the energy blow. Chuck said that he wouldn't watch her elude him, so he hit Rose with all his strength to throw her away from the lake with a shockwave. But it looks like he got carried away, because the blow was too strong and literally demolished the girl, pinning her to the ground. Jack was very worried about Rose, so he asked how she was. The beauty said that everything was normal and pushed her plump friend away so as not to involve him in this massacre. Rose said that she is not as strong as Chuck, but if she wants to die, no one will stop her. But the sixth elder's disciple decided to clarify that he didn't care about the girl's life. He just didn't want to miss his chance. She did not understand what this vile snake meant. Chuck explained that if she died in the lake, he would not be able to remove his preoccupied needs with her body. Hearing such abomination, Rose became angry and went on the attack, threatening Chuck with violence. He was sure that he was much stronger, so he would realize his fantasies no matter what. The guy bound the body of the beautiful Rose with energy ropes. She could no longer stand on her feet or move at all. Chuck came closer to her and said that he now has the right to collect his reward. The crowd of students was happy at this spectacle, because they were cleaning up Rose and her master, who had betrayed the sect. It seemed to everyone that the girl deserved such an end. And then their attention turned to Jack, who owed them a fortune in spirit pills. After all, since Max didn't show up, it means they won the argument and he's dead. Chuck, like a dog with his tongue hanging out, rushed to hit the jackpot and demanded Rose to fulfill her promise. But suddenly Jack stood in his way and told the guy to stop. Chuck told him not to flatter him in these matters and was already starting to get angry. The chubby guy created an energy shield. He said that since she was on his team, he would protect her. Vanessa's disciple did not want to go against the guy because of his connections with the Holy Master. But the desire to take possession of the body of the Jade Iceberg was greater than all fears. So Chuck took out his sword and hit Jack's shield with all his might. The shield was instantly destroyed, and the chubby guy himself was carried away by the shockwave. Jack was thrown back. Rose was very worried about him, because the guy was much weaker than even she. But Chuck told her to worry not about her friend, but about herself, because now no one would stop him from doing what he had planned. Jack stood up and declared that this was the battlefield of the secret kingdom of Rongyan, not the Holy Land. And if he treats his fellow disciples harshly, then the Holy Master will definitely punish him for it. But Chuck replied that the Holy Master is always in favor of students surviving in battle. Therefore, if someone could not avoid death during training, then there is no use for him on the Holy Land. He also said that he was not going to kill the girl. He would only use her body. Chuck stuck his tongue out again and ran to Rose for his reward. The beauty's eyes began to radiate white light and lightning. She screamed so that this preoccupied man should not dare to touch her. Rose activated a devastating technique that could take the lives of everyone present. An explosion suddenly sounded over the lake of fiery poison, and someone burst out of the bottom. Chuck didn't understand what was happening, so he wanted to turn around and look. The lake began to erupt with lava, which flew at all the onlookers under the shore. Chuck turned around to see what the fuss was about, and the reason for the fuss was our Max, who, having escaped from the lake, kicked Chuck in the face for daring to touch a member of his team. The hero's blow made Vanessa's student demolish a tree and remember the taste of his older brother's strength. No one had any doubts anymore that Max was alive and incredibly strong. The hero rushed to Rose, asking about her well-being. The girl replied that everything was fine, and she believed that the guy was alive. Admiring the tied-up beauty, Max was flattered that she was worried about him. In a trembling voice, Rose asked the hero not to stare at her, but to quickly help her free herself. The mere thought that he would now have to practice shibari with such a beauty made Max go crazy. But the ego of fantasy was spoiled by the presence of the Sixth Elder's disciples, who were getting closer and closer. Chuck really didn't expect Max to be able to get out of the lake of fire. The hero did not hide his anger at these two because they dared to mock his comrades. After warming up his neck, Max went to put these upstarts in their place, completely forgetting about the tied-up Rose. Chuck and Dora were confident in their abilities, so they happily supported the hero's desire to fight. The disciples of the Sixth Elder united and summoned the fiery spirit of the tiger. It was at this moment that the system issued a warning that the enemy's attack force had reached the foundation stage. Max could only be invincible at the chi refining stage. Therefore, the system advised him to find a way out on his own. The hero, to put it mildly, was shocked by such a setup. But the young master was not going to give up, because he was already ready for a severe battle. Max touched his palms with his opponents to counter them. After this, a powerful explosion was heard, which raised its energy column right up to the sky. Jack couldn't believe that his older brother was able to survive the fall into the lake of fire, but lost to this obnoxious couple. The crowd of students watching all this admired the strength of Dora and Chuck, because they did not know that these two managed to achieve the techniques of the foundation stage. They believed that Max at the chi refinement stage would not be able to survive such a strong blow, so they supported a couple of Vanessa's disciples. The students stared at Jack, demanding their share of spiritual pills, because they were sure of the death of their elder brother. They surrounded the plump guy and demanded that he give up everything he had, claiming that without Max's protection he wouldn't live long anyway. Jack held his bag tightly and did not want to believe that his older brother was no more. Chuck intervened in this mess, saying that there was no longer any need to doubt Max's death. He argued that the Sixth Elder gave them secret techniques, so his and Dora's strength had reached the middle stage of creating the foundations. They were sure that the opponent, even at a lower level, did not have a chance to survive. Suddenly our hero interrupted this arrogant couple, saying that their master forgot to tell them something. Like a phoenix on fire, Max burned with anger and a desire to put these two in their place. The students did not expect such a turn of events, so they bit their tongues and watched what would happen next. The hero said that at the chi refining stage, this technique would really take him by surprise. Jack and Rose were certainly delighted that their older brother was so strong and invincible, but the sweet couple was not going to back down. Chuck insisted that he would attack as long as necessary. Dora, in turn, was also filled with anger. With all her heart, she wanted to take revenge on the hero for past humiliations. Max, looking at these arrogant peacocks, said that their strength really exceeded all his expectations. But even she won't be able to resist our hero. Such statements angered Chuck and Dora, so they immediately began to activate their trump technique. Dora was not stupid. She understood perfectly well that since Max spoke so confidently, it meant it for a reason. Therefore, the girl decided to stay a little behind Chuck. The disciples of the sixth elder used a fiery roar, which was very impressive in appearance. But the young master did not appreciate this show. In one fell swoop, Max activated the snake summoning technique. The hero, together with his huge, cold-blooded friend, decided to show everyone what a real spiritual animal is. Max ordered the baby bagel, as he called the snake, to finish off these impudent people for his sake. The face of these two when they saw the donut needed to be captured for a long time. The fire snake literally destroyed Chuck and Dora's trump technology. Chuck suffered the most because he was in front. The crowd of disciples was shocked by the power of the serpent. But they could not understand where this donut came from and what kind of monster it was. Chuck was slammed into the ground by the shockwave, but Dora managed to land on her own. The girl realized that she had done the right thing by standing behind her friend. Otherwise, she herself would have been very seriously injured. This defeated couple asked each other about their well-being, clearly not with good intentions. After all, everyone wanted to take advantage of the moment to steal the energy of the other to restore their own strength. Max told the sweet couple not to be sad in the last minutes of their lives. The deadly eyes of the donut stared at the enemies of the owner and was ready to do whatever he ordered him to do. The hero asked Dora and Chuck if they wanted to say anything final. The sixth elder's disciple was shocked that Max managed to tame the fire snake, and the hero replied that the guy spent his last words on stupid questions. Max told the bagel that it was time for him to have a snack and pointed it at these two. Chuck, in a moment of despair, began to scream and ask the hero to wait. He claimed that this was not a battlefield, but a secret kingdom, and if Max harmed a fellow practitioner, the Holy Master would punish him. The young master decided to remind him that Jack had used these words a little earlier to save Rose. Max also recalled that Chuck himself was in favor of violence during training, because it only sharpens the student's fighting spirit. These words caused the sixth elder's disciple to foul the air with fear. Chuck banged his head on the ground and begged for mercy, promising that he would honor his older brother and not go against him. The corrupt students are already confused on which side to take, because Max managed to survive in the lake of fire and tame the snake. At that moment, Jack appeared and decided to take the opportunity to collect the debt. The plump guy with an intimidating look insisted that they were all very mistaken when they bet against their older brother. One of the students decided to turn on the sycophant and somehow move to Max's team with the help of flattery to Jack. But our chubby boy instantly put him in his place, giving him a strong slap in the face. From such a blow, the suck-up immediately fell into his place, with his face in the ground. Jack then turned to the rest of the students who had mocked him and his friends earlier. While the students gave Jack everything they had down to their underpants, a dispatched assistant was watching all of this. It was Felina, who was no less shocked than the others that Max was able to survive in the lake of fire and tame the monster. The woman knew that Rongyan's beads were still on Chuck, so she couldn't let him die. The hero did not fall for the pleas of Vanessa's student. He had no use for his respect. He gave the command to eat the bagel, and the deadly snake rushed to devour the host's enemies. Chuck, in desperation, tried to put up a protective barrier to somehow contain the beast. But the snake was much stronger, so it broke through the shield with its head without any problems. The sixth elder's disciple realized that this time everything was really serious, and the matter smelled like the end. But suddenly someone rushed at lightning speed right into the epicenter of events. The students had their clothes blown off from such speed. Besides, they recognized the strength of their elder brother and decided to always be on his side in the future. Max was sure that now the moment of justice would come and the snake would eat this impudent couple without any problems. But this time everything is not so simple, because Sent Help intervened. The hero did not expect that something could resist his pet, so he was shocked. Bagel was lying on the ground, beaten. Max rushed to him to help. He stroked the poor snake, which was in great pain and insisted that everything would be fine. The hero turned around to look at the man who was able to resist his pet. This was a woman hiding her face and identity. After thinking a little, he realized that if this woman was able to resist the snake at the peak of the creation of foundations, then she herself was at the stage of immortality. Chuck was sincerely glad that this mysterious man he had sent to save him arrived in time, and now they were saved. The woman in the cloak took out a kunai and asked Max if he was ready to die. Seeing the lightning-fast kunai, the hero realized who he was dealing with. After all, earlier it was the fourth elder who used this weapon against him, and now she is doing the same. Max, in order to soften the blow, threw his spiritual grenade. These two shells collided, and there was a huge and powerful explosion. The crowd was terrified. The students no longer knew who to bet on, because they were constantly confident in the death of their elder brother, and now owe a bunch of pills for their mistake. Now they have decided to take Max's side, so as not to remain in the red. When the smoke cleared, it became clear that the hero had suffered after all. It is very difficult to resist a person at the stage of immortality if the donut failed. But our guy is even more so. The students have already lost their last socks, because they constantly bet on the wrong one. Perhaps they need to accept the fact that gambling is bad. Max turned to Felina, saying that he did not expect such a setup from the elder, who specifically came to kill him, hiding her identity. The hero rationally and reasonably told her that she should not harm the student in the secret kingdom of Rongyan. Otherwise, the Holy Master would punish her for this. But Felina answered the young man with his own words. He himself argued that if a person cannot stand up for himself in training, then he is useless on the battlefield. Max was angry that she was using his own words, and tried to somehow protest, even threatening to write a complaint against the fourth elder. Chuck intervened in this dispute, claiming that he had previously raised this argument in his defense. But the truth is that Jack was the first to say these words, but he was ignored. Felina clearly did not intend to negotiate, so she told Max to run, otherwise she would put a kunai in his diantan. The hero was in his repertoire and continued to tease the elder. He asked if she was sure that she could kill him. But the woman had no doubts about this, because the guy was only at the chi purification stage. Taking this opportunity, the young master decided to drive her crazy again. He invited her to make a bet again. Apparently no one in this story is bothered by the dangers of gambling, especially since it could cost Max his life. The fourth elder became enraged at the mere mention of the dispute. This cunning gambling addict was already beginning to anger her. Jack had already begun to be afraid of his older brother. The situation seemed hopeless to him, and it was extremely difficult to believe that Max would be able to resist this woman. Felina said that she did not want to make a bet with a dead man, and again threw her lightning kunai at the hero. It feels like she doesn't own any other weapon. The chubby guy was terrified. He was very worried about the leader of his team. The rest of the students were also confused, because they no longer wanted to take sides, apparently tired of losing. The hero deftly dodged the elder's deadly technique, thereby surprising the woman. Max was not going to tolerate Felina's antics. He had something to answer her. When the woman turned her head, she saw a stream of spiritual grenades flying towards her. Grenades tend to explode, so the students watched this mess as if they were at a fire show. Jack was happy, but Rose was sure that everything was not so simple, because Max's opponent was at the stage of immortality. When the smoke cleared, Felina came out, admitting that she was impressed. But she also said that this trick did not hurt her in any way, because she is at the stage of immortality. But while the woman was praising her power, the hero had already disappeared. He suddenly turned to her, taking the elder by surprise. This time Max didn't get by with just one grenade. He sent a whole cloud of grenades at the fourth lady to repeat their fun. While moving, the hero activated the grenade barrage technique, raining down 100 grenade bullets on Felina's head. He pulled so hard that the local squirrels' nuts fell out of their hollows. A crowd of open-mouthed students watched the strength of their elder brother. They admired his hidden talents. 30 seconds later, Rose heavily asked Max to slow down the pace a little. She said that this made her dizzy, and asked to let her go. The hero told her to be patient, because they needed to get out immediately to save themselves. He threw the girl on his shoulder, but pulled Jack by the leg, because the chubby guy is heavy. Felina, when she came to her senses, was seriously angry, and was already specifically determined to kill Max. The fourth elder threw her kunai like crazy. Max didn't understand where under a dress one could hide as many weapons as she had. The hero ordered Jack to throw grenades at the woman if she caught up with them. While the plump guy was holding them in his hands, Max gave him a short instruction on how to use them. That is, pull out the pin and throw them. Jack liked the role of the master's killer in the immortality stage, so he enthusiastically threw grenades right at her. Felina was a careless redneck last time, but now she was not going to fall for these tricks. The fourth elder parried the blow, as in tennis, and now the grenades were no longer flying at her, but towards the owners. Once again, the quiet life of the local squirrels was disturbed by a powerful explosion. But this time the nuts remained in place, so they were not greatly indignant. Our super team crashed, so we lay on the ground in bewilderment. Max didn't expect to be blown up by his own grenade. It was unpleasant. Felina came close to them and asked with a grin what he would come up with this time. The hero understood that things were bad, but at that moment, Rose asked to be given the opportunity to fight. The girl's eyes lit up with lightning. She freed her body from the ropes and was ready to attack. The guys did not expect such power from their companion, because she was able to repel the blow. Felina suddenly realized that this was not just like that. Rose must have an ice pearl. Max didn't understand where the girl got so much energy. Jack was also shocked, because everyone thought that the fifth elder took the ice pearl, but it turned out that it was under everyone's nose. This fact was only to the benefit of the fourth elder. She wanted to quickly take the treasure for herself. Burning with the idea of taking the pearl, Felina used all her deadly kunai. Rose was ready to fight back, so she also turned on the maximum. Their techniques collided, and the energy explosion could not be compared with anything. It was as powerful as possible. The shockwave was very strong, but Jack noticed that Rose was at the stage of chi purification, so she would not be able to fully use the power of the ice pearl. The plump guy suggested running away, because the girl deliberately entered into this fight in order to distract the fourth elder. But Max was against it. He didn't want to leave his comrade who was trying so hard to help them. Jack claimed that the fifth elder and Rose were in cahoots, which is why the girl had the pearl. He insisted on escaping, because he believed that Rose had given herself away for a reason, and the fact that she did this for Max's sake also inspired distrust in him. After listening to this, the hero came up with a cunning way out of the situation. During the battle, Selenium struck Rose in the stomach with energy flows with a precise hit. This led to the girl reflexively spitting out the ice pearl that she was hiding inside herself. The fourth elder saw the treasure and immediately rushed to pick it up. At this moment, Max intervened. He distracted her and threw his spiritual grenades. Felina's field of vision was blurred by the explosion, and while the woman inhales the aroma of burning, Max intercepted the pearl and jumped to a safe distance. Now this treasure belongs to him, and he was absolutely happy about it. The hero squeezed the ice pearl in his fist and began to absorb its power. A huge flow of energy passed through his body. Even his eyes glowed. Jack tried to warn him that the peak of the chi refinement stage would not be able to handle the ice pearl. To get results, you need to be stronger. Otherwise, there will be a backlash. But the specifics of Max's strength were known only to him, so in order to double the accumulation result, the hero duplicated the ice pearl. Thunder and lightning erupted in a raging mixture, filling our young master with beyond strength. Max literally burned with icy fire from such an amount of energy in his body. But despite this, the hero believed that this was not enough to achieve a breakthrough. Due to its characteristics, the backlash from the ice pearl did not harm him, but rather added Qianlong energy points. Max copied pearls and absorbed their power, achieving incredible results. The return blow of the ice pearl gave the hero a total of 1 million energy points. Consequently, he was able to move on to the foundation stage. Jack looked at this and could not understand how his older brother was able to get 11 ice pearls, because only one was a great treasure. Moreover, it felt like Max's cultivation level had risen to the foundation stage. Felina also gnawed at herself with speculation, because an ordinary student cannot get 11 such rare pearls. While everyone was tormenting themselves with questions, the hero decided not to waste time and attack the fourth elder with what she so wanted to get. With hatred in his eyes, Max threw 2 ice pearls at Felina. The woman understood that this was dangerous, so she began to get nervous. As expected, the blow was really powerful. The fourth elder flew away like dust, followed by her shoes. Jack rejoiced with all his might. He was proud of his strong older brother, and did not hide his ridicule at the defeat of the fourth mistress. But Max interrupted this celebration. He grabbed his plump friend by the collar and said that it was time to get out. The hero with the donut and his team immediately left this place, taking advantage of the fact that Felina was moving away from the battle. Although the woman suffered a little, she was not going to let Max go just like that. She intended to take the ice pearl from him, because this is a magical treasure that is not found anywhere else. Felina took a breath and gave chase. Max managed to reach the forest of demonic beasts. Jack was indignant because he believed that they had every chance of finishing off the fourth elder. Max explained that he used all his strength, and if they didn't leave, they were finished. The hero's strength was truly at its limit. He was squeezed like lemon and could barely stand on his feet. When the guy finished speaking, he simply fell from powerlessness. Jack panicked because Max no longer had a drop of energy. The plump guy tried to revive Rose, but the girl also showed no signs of cheerfulness. At this point, Jack began to lose control of his emotions because he was too weak to handle everything on his own. While the plump guy was praying to heaven for help, the system issued an alert in which it was said that Max had a pill in his inventory that could restore a large amount of spiritual energy. He rummaged in his pockets and actually found such a pill. Tears welled up in the hero's eyes because now he was saved. Rose was also in critical condition. This is due to the consequences of using the ice pearl. Jack hit Max on the shoulder and asked what to do. Because of this, the magic pill slipped out of the hero's hands and rolled on the ground. Max reached out to her with all his strength, because this is the only hope for salvation. But for some reason, Jack decided that this pill should be given to Rose. The plump guy deftly picked up the pill. He said that he would fulfill the will of his older brother and give her to the girl for salvation. Jack ran towards her, praising Max's kindness. It's just that such sacrifices were not part of the hero's plans. But there was no strength to interfere. Max shouted with all his might to the bagel to crack the restless, chubby guy. The pet complied with the will of the owner and gave the bream to Jack with its tail. The pill fell straight into the hero's hands. He was glad, because now he can make a copy. In this way, you will be able to save yourself and Rose without sacrifices. The system completed the copying, but it took 200,000 energy points. This was even more than it cost to duplicate the ice pearl. Somehow it's not fair, but what can you do? Although it requires energy, Max still decided to make 5 copies of this pill. The system window informed the owner that copying 5 copies cost him 1 million energy points. Well, the time has come to try this pill to understand its capabilities, and whether it was worth spending so many energy points. Yes, it was worth it, because all his spiritual strength was restored. This pill was given to the hero by Moon. He did not expect to see such a good effect, which surpassed even spiritual energy pills. Max realized that Felina could catch up with them at any moment, so he gave the pill to Rose so that they could continue on their way. After taking the medicine, the girl immediately began to slowly recover. Her injury was serious, so it took a little time. While the girl stops, the hero decides to take a closer look at the 10 copies of ice pearls that he recently made and hid in his pocket. But to his great surprise, the treasure was not there. Max began to panic, because he was sure that the pearls were in his pocket. He cried, touched all his clothes, even shook his shoes, but all in vain. Grief clouded his mind. He screamed and could not believe that he had lost them, because he had spent as many as 1 million energy points on their duplicates. But in this agony, he suddenly noticed a strange glow on his sleeve. It seems that due to his transition to the foundation creation stage, the pearls merged with his body. Since there were many pearls, there were also several shining traces. All of them were located in different parts of Max's body. The thought that the pearls would help him become invincible and cool haunted the hero. While Max was looking at all the places where there was an ice trail, Rose came to her senses. He was surprised that the girl came to her senses and recovered so quickly. Rose also said that during the recovery process she saw the guy rummaging in his pants. Max was sure that everything was happening out of sight, but he also made a mistake. The girl said that despite serious injuries, she felt everything that her older brother was doing to her. Max didn't understand who she was taking him for, a savior or a pervert. His brain was boiling with embarrassment. The guy was ready to fall through the ground out of shame, but Rose hugged him tightly and thanked him for saving him. After all, after using the ice pearl, she lost her energy and could have died. Max decided to ask if she saw anything during the recovery, but the girl did not immediately understand what he meant. The hero really didn't want to disgrace himself, so he tried not to show his momentary weakness during solitude. Jack also came to his senses. He was glad that Rose had recovered. The girl said that it was all thanks to her elder brother, who gave her a pill and her body broke through to the foundation stage. Max was surprised that she remembered everything, because he was sure that Rose was unconscious. But the girl said that she not only remembered everything, but also saw something. She said that she saw him rustling with his pants. Rose winked playfully at the hero. Max was shocked. His image of a holy monk was destroyed. Jack saw this too. He decided that his older brother was hiding pills in his pants and was ready to rummage there too to get them. The hero was angry with so many witnesses. He kicked the chubby guy so that he would fall behind. But still, the young master pulled himself together and said that it was time for them to leave, because the 4th elder could soon catch up. Rose suggested going to the central region of the secret kingdom, because there is a dense forest there and you can hide in it. There was just a catch. The forest is infested with demonic beasts and it can be dangerous. But Max was sure that nothing would threaten them with the donut, because no one would dare to attack that formidable snake. But Jack said that in the demonic forest the animals are very strong. There are even third-order ones. The hero and the donut began to panic, because third-order beasts are stronger than the master at the stage of immortality. No matter how terrible Felina is, the third-order animals in the forest are much more terrible. Therefore, it was necessary to somehow get through this forest very quickly. Max suddenly had a brilliant idea to find several fast monsters and, with their help, get through this forest in an instant. But Rose and Jack did not know that their older brother could tame any animal. But the hero told them to just trust him. Felina followed, almost breathing down their back. The woman realized that they wanted to break away through the demonic forest, but this did not frighten her. The fourth elder wanted to take the ice pearl and take revenge on Max for everything, so she continued to pursue them. Near the cave, animals were frolicking, which most likely could have approached our guys. Wild seals were doing their usual business, and did not suspect that they were already being watched. Max said that he could tame these fiery leopards if his friends helped him. They dressed Jack up as bait. The plump guy himself didn't really believe in this plan, because the leopards could easily eat him. The hero encouraged the guy. He said that these animals are only at the stage of creating the foundations, and besides, the bagel is always nearby. Max said in a sly voice that there was nothing to worry about, because he would easily tame the leopards, and they would be able to run away from Felina. But Jack was haunted by the feeling that he was being deceived somewhere. But still, the strong man got ready and went to complete the task with great confidence in himself and his team, which supports him so much. For his courage, Jack expected to receive the same pill that Max gave Rose for a breakthrough. The hero sweetly replied that everything would be fine. He would keep his word and give his friend the pill without any problems. Max decided to fatally boost his friend's morale and said that even if Jack had not risked his life, he would still have received the pill. The strong man was delighted and said that in this case he would not go anywhere. Max realized that he had gone too far with his noble speeches and was already starting to get angry. Jack had already blossomed like a May rose and demanded his pill just like that. The hero decided to play along with him and claimed that he would now give him the pill. Max pointed his finger at the sky and said that they were giving out free pies there. It worked. Jack immediately began looking for freebies. The older brother took the opportunity to kick his chubby friend in the ass and send him flying. Jack screamed that he would never forget this. The strong guy fell in the territory of the fiery leopards. Friends from the bushes tried to support him. While the guy was coming to his senses, the fiery leopards were already staring at him, because they did not expect to see a stranger. The animals got angry and instantly started running towards their victim. Jack was at the peak of fear. He screamed and called for help. Free pies turned into free funerals. The fiery leopards came closer and closer to him. The plump guy naively tried to negotiate with them and calm them down. While he was establishing negotiations, the animals surrounded him and began to attack. Jack, in despair, put the divine talisman on his chest, and he began to run from death as fast as he could, begging for help. The strong man threw all his treasures from his inventory at the leopards, blaming his older brother for everything. Max and Rose sat in the bushes and watched this show. The hero himself did not expect that his chubby friend had so much junk with him. Rose said that if this continues, Jack will be eaten. The hero replied that he would still have to give him the pill as an apology. Jack had already thrown away everything he had and asked his older brother to intervene, because otherwise he would be finished. Max realized that the beasts had almost exhausted their spiritual energy and it would be easier to tame them. The hero called the donut and climbed onto its head to finally intervene in this animal world. Jack ran like he was scalded and shouted that he would no longer trust Max. The hero himself was already approaching astride his pet to save his friend. The young master jumped from the threatening serpent and ordered the fiery leopards to leave Jack behind. Max summoned the beast taming technique and directed it at the leopards. The technique was activated, and a huge energy flow of taming was directed towards the animals. The system issued a notification that 3 scarlet fire leopards had been successfully tamed, using 150,000 Qianlong energy points. Max completed his need and landed successfully. The hero was proud of himself. He gave valuable advice to his chubby friend not to panic, but to think about how to solve the problem. While this genius was teaching valuable life lessons, his team and the donut froze in fear, warning their older brother of danger with gestures. Max didn't understand why they were silent and not admiring him. The guys just quietly told him to turn around. Behind the guy stood a huge representative of the fiery leopard species, and it looked like the beast was very angry. The hero smelled of fear because it was a leader. It is a third-order demonic beast, a spiritual flame leopard. The leader had already begun to attack and was ready to destroy everyone who entered his territory. Max shouted and ordered everyone to run away immediately. The hero threw a spiritual grenade to obscure the beast's vision and be able to escape. He told the guys to group up so that the shockwave of the explosion could quickly carry them into the sky. Rose asked what to do next, but our genius already had an idea. He clenched his fingers and whistled with all his might to summon new pets. Leopards appeared immediately at the call and were already in a hurry to help their master. Rose and Max landed well and were already riding on the scarlet predators. But Jack was less fortunate. He could not mount the beast, so he held it by the tail and dragged himself along the ground. The guys ran away with all their might, while the leader desperately tried to catch up with them. The plump guy was already scratching his chest on the ground while the leopard was pulling him. All this time he complained about the injustice of fate and asked for help. Max was frankly tired of this. He fired an energy stream from his finger at Jack so that he would let go of the beast's tail. Thanks to this, the plump guy finally fell on the leopard's back and no longer scratched the ground with his belly. Rose turned to him to make sure he was okay. But seeing Jack's appearance, the girl became embarrassed and turned away sharply. The chubby guy asked what exactly confused her. He even thought that the girl fell in love with him. That's why she behaved this way. Max cut short his friend's illusions and told him to look at his chest. Looking down, the plump guy noticed that his nipples sparkled like guiding stars. Jack covered his chest in tears and said that because of such shame it would be difficult for him to find a wife. But Max was not at all interested in his personal life at the moment. Rose said that now is not the time to fight, because they stole the leopard's children, so she is chasing them. Jack also understood that sooner or later the mother cat would catch up with them, because the cubs are not so hardy. But this time the hero had a brilliant plan, and was confident of success. Max decided to distract the leader with a rival who is more resilient. The hero ordered the pets to speed up a little in order to wait for that same opponent. The children ran through the forest labyrinths, which infuriated the mother of the leopards even more. Meanwhile, Felina was jumping from tree to tree in search of Max. The woman had been looking for him for a long time, and did not want to believe that she had really missed him. But suddenly our guys riding on animals came into her field of vision. She saw the hero and addressed him by name. Max was glad that he finally met her. The fourth elder was about to send the guy to hell, but he answered her in kind. Felina was sure that she would now deal with the impudent student of the seventh sister forever, so she threw many deadly kunai at him. Max told the team to jump at his command, and as soon as the kunaks were already very close, our team immediately jumped back, and the kunaks exploded right behind them. The fourth elder suspected something was wrong, because they seemed to want this. And they really wanted this, because Felina's attack touched the mother of the leopards, who became furious. Seeing the spiritual leopard in front of her, the fourth elder herself began to smell of fear. Because the beast was much stronger than her, the mother of leopards was not going to forgive the woman for such an act. So with her evil roar, she made it clear that she was finished. The spiritual leopard used its power to attack Felina. The woman tried to restrain her, but it was difficult. And now the demonic forest again trembled from explosions and battles. Felina and the spiritual leopard turned on at full power. Neither of them had any intention of giving up, but it seemed that the advantage was on the leopard's side. So the fourth elder did not know how to deal with the enemy. Max and his team asked the woman with a grin if she liked his gift, hinting at a bloodthirsty beast. Felina said that if she gets to the guy, he will pay for his actions. But the hero answered her that now she should think not about the place, but about her ass. Otherwise she will be left without it. After all, the spiritual leopard was furious, and after waiting for the moment, attacked not Felina. The beast took the fourth elder by surprise and intended to deal with her immediately. The woman realized that it would not be sweet for her. The power of the leopard's attacks was amazing. Everything around shook from the explosions. Our fearless team watched the battle of masters of this level for the first time, and it was amazing. Rose and Jack couldn't understand why they weren't leaving. After all, logically, the leopard will finish with the elder and start taking on them. Max decided to show off his intelligence and gave out a stunning saying from his hometown. The bird and the oyster grabbed each other, and the fisherman benefited from this. Rose understood what he meant. This meant that the leopard and Felina were on the same level. Sooner or later they would run out of steam, and then their team could join. The girl praised her older brother for such wisdom and foresight. But Jack took this saying literally and was puzzled that Max wanted to use his talent as a fisherman. While they were discussing folk wisdom, a very powerful explosion occurred below. The end of the battle was already close. Both powerful opponents were running out, but they didn't show it. Max decided that now was the time to take advantage of Felina's severe wounds to finish her off. He quickly jumped off the leopard and walked towards the elder to fight. The fourth elder understood that Max's blow last time damaged her internal organs, and now she is very weak. To save herself, the woman decided to flee immediately. Felina quickly reacted and got out of there, claiming that sooner or later she would kill Muna's arrogant student anyway. The hero did not have time to finish her off. She ran away. Jack was indignant that she needed to be caught up and neutralized, but everything was not so simple. Rose explained that as long as a person is at the stage of immortality, then he is immortal. You can destroy his flesh, but no more, because if it explodes itself in despair, then everyone around will suffer. Jack again admired his smart and thoughtful older brother, who really loved listening to flattery. But Max had no idea that this could happen. He just wanted to tame the third-order spiritual leopard, taking advantage of the fact that it was weakened. The spiritual leopard was not injured, but exhausted, so it fell to the ground tiredly. Suddenly, Jack came up with a great plan. He said that it was possible to use the technique of taming animals on Felina and become the strongest on the Holy Land. Max was delighted with such ideas. He didn't even dare to think about it. The hero praised his chubby friend for his creativity and ordered him not to be ashamed of his thoughts in the future, but to tell him right away. Rose intervened in these pleasantries and asked what to do with the spiritual leopard. The beast lay wearily on the ground while its cubs purred and tried to bring their mother to her senses. Max said that it was time for the family to reunite and put his hands in the position of summoning equipment. But suddenly the mother of the leopard slowly approached the hero. She did not want to attack, seeing the advantage of the young man. Rose explained that the leopard was most likely asking to spare her children, and then she would obey him. Max, hearing this, dropped his hands. Jack asked why his older brother stopped, since this was such a rare opportunity. The plump guy claimed that they had already missed Felina, and with a leopard of this level, it would be much easier to advance further. But Max replied that they tamed leopards only for movement, to escape from the fourth elder. But now, there is no need for them anymore, so he doesn't want to torture the animals just like that. Pressing his fingers to his lips, Max concentrated. The hero directed his spiritual energy to the leopard cubs and canceled the summoning technique. Their mind control began to fade, and then completely dissolved. Finally, mother and children were together and Max was happy about it. Jack was surprised by such an act of his older brother, but the hero did not hide that the leopard's maternal love touched him to the depths of his soul. The plump guy was furious, because his plans were to make a lot of money from the talent of his older brother, and he turns out to be such a benefactor. To shut his friend's mouth, Max threw a pill into his hands. After all, it was precisely thanks to his kind heart that the young master did not forget about his promise and rewarded the plump guy with the heavenly killing pill, which restores all spiritual power immediately after taking it. Max suddenly thought about the past. After all, if his parents knew that their son was taken by an unknown force into this world, they would have done everything possible to save him. He promised himself to accumulate enough strength to tear apart space and time to return to his family. Rose noticed that her older brother was up to something, because his eyes were sad, but still he was filled with confidence. Felina was very weak, so she could barely move through the forest and coughed. The woman did not expect that Max would be able to find a way to harm her so much. But the fourth mistress could not allow this impudent guy to become an obstacle in the way of her older brother Alan. Meanwhile, Dora and Chuck sat in the bushes and cared for each other. But the concern was feigned. Chuck was only thinking about how to quickly devour the girl's energy and fully recover. Dora was also not stupid. She had long suspected something was wrong, so she was ready to devour her weak comrade to the last drop. Felina saw these two and decided that they could provide her with protection, while she regained her strength. A woman came out to them from the shadows of the forest. The guys did not expect to meet her, because initially they could not fully understand who exactly would help them. They bowed to the fourth elder and thanked him for saving their lives because, if not for her, they would have become a good dinner for the snake. But Felina told them to stop bowing, because she was worried about something completely different now. Dora was not particularly happy about the appearance of this person. The girl wanted to drain the energy of her partner, but because of Felina, it would be much more difficult. The fourth elder sat in a pose and told Vanessa's disciples to protect her while the recovery took place. Chuck was surprised that Felina was injured, so he asked if Max did it an hour ago. But the woman with a menacing look told the guy not to ask dangerous questions. Chuck lowered his head and accepted her will. He understood that even if he absorbed Dora, he still wouldn't have enough strength to fight Max. Thinking about this, Chuck came to the conclusion that he needed to absorb someone stronger, for example, an elder at the stage of immortality. Dora took the initiative into her own hands. She quietly whispered in Chuck's ear that a lifetime of training would not be enough for them to improve their skills. Therefore, the girl hinted that she could take advantage of the fourth mistress's serious injuries. Just give this patient a reason, and he will already stick out his tongue to profit from someone's power. Chuck was only too happy to stab Felina at the immortality stage and absorb her along with Dora. In his sick fantasy, he has already absorbed Felina, and after her his master, after which all the elders and students of the sect will kneel before him, calling him daddy. Dora knew that this idea would hook her partner. It's just that the stage of immortality is not so easy to cope with, so I decided to slightly improve the plan in my favor. Chuck told the girl to prepare to attack the fourth elder in unison. Dora played along with him so that the guy wouldn't suspect anything, and when his attack was no longer reversible, the girl walked away and mentally wished Chuck good luck in coping with Felina's anger. He had already gained courage and hit the elder in the stomach with all his might while she was recovering. An explosion thundered. Chuck stood closest to it and hoped for a miracle. When he noticed that Dora was not helping, he was indignant, because he knew that he could not cope on his own. But the girl replied that she was simply waiting for the fourth mistress to fight back against her offender. Chuck was furious that Dora set him up like that, but the girl with a smile told him to think about his own skin, and not about revenge. After all, Felina was angry that this impudent young man dared to take advantage of her helplessness, and was ready to make a doormat out of him. The woman threw her deadly kunai at Chuck and wished him a good road to the underworld. The fourth elder's kunai pierced his chest, therefore there was one less crazy person. But still one more remained. Her sick imagination worked hand in hand with strategy. Chuck was already lying on the ground exhausted and was indignant that Dora had used him so vilely. But the girl noticed his narrow-mindedness with a smile and asked him not to be so surprised. Vanessa's student threatened that the master would not forgive her for this. Dora replied that after his absorption, she would be able to proceed to Felina, and Vanessa was not far away. The girl stroked her partner, who was raging with hopelessness, and promised to kill Max in order to somehow avenge him in this way. After these words, Dora put her hand to Chuck's forehead and ordered him to surrender to her completely. While the girl was absorbing his energy, he shouted that he had underestimated her in vain, because he had never seen such insidiousness in his life. It didn't last long. After a couple of seconds, Chuck was absorbed to the last drop. Felina thanked the girl for saving her, because she did not yet know her true motives for helping. The woman said that her golden power pill was destroyed, but was slowly being restored, so she asked Dora to guard so that the process would be completed successfully. In return, the fourth elder promised to accept the girl as his disciple. Dora bowed and said that she was flattered by such trust. Felina said that she was indebted to the girl for her salvation, and by accepting her as a student, the debt would be written off. But Dora, approaching, replied that she did not like to wait a long time for the debt to be returned, so the elder would have to pay it back right now. Felina did not immediately understand what was being said, but Dora looked terrifying. The girl activated the absorption technique and said that she would collect the debt. She grabbed the fourth elder's head with her hand to suck all the energy out of it. Felina shouted in anger that she would kill Dora for such impudence. But the girl laughed in her face and continued, because the elder spent her last strength on Chuck and is now completely at zero. The fourth lady claimed that even after being absorbed, Dora would not become the strongest person in the Holy Land. After all, elder brother Alan will take possession of the Rongyan pearl and avenge it. But the girl already had a map to this precious pearl and intended to absorb it too. Felina was shocked that Dora owned this card. Dora replaced the map that Max stole from Chuck in advance and changed the route so that he would get to all the dangerous points of the forest on his way. She laughed loudly and rejoiced, considering everyone her pawns. Felina, being on the verge of death, cursed this girl, but unfortunately this will no longer help. Dora stated that she is now the most powerful person in the realm of immortality, and will eventually rule the entire Holy Land. Leaving her two victims in the thicket of the forest, the girl, laughing loudly, set off to carry out her plan. Meanwhile, Jack, having taken his older brother's pill, was already fully moving to a new level of strength. The chubby guy was very happy that he could become a master of creating foundations. Rose was pleasantly surprised, because she did not expect that the pill would help Jack break through. Apparently, it was very powerful. Max said that since they had finished, they could now continue on their journey and showed his friends the map. The hero pointed his finger at the volcano where the Rongyan beads were located. The forest was very dangerous and full of surprises that waited at every corner. This is exactly what overtook our team, which was already fending off danger with spiritual grenades. Max was shocked by what was happening. Wherever they went, a trap awaited them. They were already being hunted by half the forest of demonic animals, which they stumbled upon while walking along the route. Jack suspected something was wrong. He was indignant, because this road on the map is indicated as the safest, but this is clearly not the case. Rose suggested not following the route on the map in order to survive. Peering at the card, Max realized that someone had replaced it. The hero angrily tore up this map, shouting that they had been blatantly deceived. The guys were already exhausted by this time, and asked their older brother what they should do next. Max asked for a moment to think, and then an idea struck our genius. He asked Jack if he wanted to take on several animals. The plump guy remembered how a little earlier he was a rabbit for a leopard and began to get nervous. But Max said that there is no need to worry, on the contrary. You need to seize your moment of glory. Like last time, Jack didn't even have time to blink an eye when he was already standing in the costume of the mother of animals, crushing all the forest inhabitants with his delicious forms. But the guy still didn't understand why he had to take on the role of bait again. Max sat in the bushes with Rose and encouraged his friend, citing the fact that he had phenomenal experience in attracting the attention of predators. The hero promised to tame the demonic beast that appeared and asked the plump guy not to worry and to trust. As soon as Max said this, menacing lions appeared and were already targeting the delicious Jack. The hero asked his friend to wait a little so that he could seize the moment and tame them when they were ready. The fire lions were already very close. Jack froze with fear and asked his older brother to do something immediately. Max did not keep himself waiting. He jumped out of the bushes and began to act. The lions completely forgot about the chubby guy in a bunny suit and jumped over him. The hero was confident in his taming technique, so without a second thought, he began to activate it. But something clearly didn't go according to plan, because the lions did not tame but began to run towards the guy even more aggressively. The animals attacked him like a piece of juicy meat that was running away. Max even had to fight back with his spiritual grenades in order to somehow protect himself from them. The guy was very touched and did not understand what was happening here and why the taming technique did not work. Before he had time to catch his breath, the fiery lions again rushed to attack. Jack gloated in the bushes, because last time he suffered all this too. Max ran through the forest from animals and yelled for someone to help him. While walking, the hero thought about the reason for such a fierce persecution of animals. Apparently the reason is that fire and water are not compatible, and the lions feel the presence of an ice pearl in it. You should learn to hide your breathing so as not to find yourself in such situations in the future. But first, you need to get rid of these lions in order to be saved. Max took out a decent supply of his spiritual grenades and dropped them on the beasts in order to weaken their energy and be able to tame them. Grenades rained down like a hellish shower, exploding everything beneath them. While the fire lions were under the shock of the explosion, Max used the taming technique again. He directed her energy flow towards the animals with the hope that this time everything would work out. And after a couple of seconds, the bloodthirsty predators turned into cute, tame fluffies who have love for their owner. Jack and Rose admired the strength of their older brother, because he managed to tame the beasts of the Foundation stage. But Max stopped these conversations, turning quietly to his plump friend, who immediately reacted to such a tone. The hero with a smile told Jack that since he had failed in his task of bait and set the lions on him, he would now work it out. The plump guy didn't understand what kind of punishment awaited him, but he began to suspect something was wrong. A few seconds later, Jack was screaming like crazy, admitting his mistakes and begging for mercy. And all because Max turned him into a toy for his pets and calmly cooked dinner over the fire with Rose. Our team has already rested and hit the road. Everyone noticed the coolness of moving on these lions, because ordinary demonic beasts would not dare to approach them. Max drew the guy's attention to the fact that ahead, there is a place where the wrong yan beads are shown on the map. Jack asked why the older brother insisted on going this way if he knew the map was wrong. The hero calmly replied that it was all because he wanted to tame a rank 3 demonic beast. Rose and the plump guy did not expect such pens from their older brother, because getting involved with such powerful animals is very dangerous. Max knew that Dora switched Chuck's map because she wanted to lure him into a trap. And the trap is nothing more than the abode of powerful demonic monsters. Therefore, it was not difficult for our hero to guess that ahead was the lair of this beast of the 3rd rank. Jack did not miss the opportunity to praise his older brother for his wisdom and foresight. And it's like honey in Max's ears. He would listen and listen. The lion sensed a force stronger than theirs and fled. Jack hung on his older brother's leg and trembled. The hero had to drag him by the collar while he screamed and struggled. The plump guy was very afraid of the 3rd rank beast and did not want to be bait again. Max told him to calm down and pull himself together. Rose asked the guys to take a break from their arguments and start thinking about what to do now. After all, they were surrounded by a swarm of insects that were not friendly. The hero stopped and looked closely at the insects to understand what was in front of them. It turned out that the third-ranked demonic beast was a golden louse, which brought its entire brood for reinforcements. Instantly, the guys were surrounded by this swarm of lice. Not only were there too many of them, but the last lion escaped. Jack cried and begged Max to tame them immediately. But the hero said that it was useless, because there were too many insects, and the chances of success were 0. The plump guy began to panic, because he didn't think that he would be in a hopeless situation. Max told them to run while he and the donut distracted the golden louse. But although the boys were afraid, they were not going to leave their older brother. The hero insisted, citing the fact that they would not have another chance to escape. He saddled the donut and rushed into battle to buy time for his friends. Max gave the command to the snake to burn these insects with his fiery poison. Young golden louse, if there are losses in their dense ranks, it is clear that a mother will not calmly watch the death of her children. The golden louse began to get angry. While the hero and the donut were burning out the lice, the golden mother of insects had already chosen the trajectory to strike with her sting. It happened so quickly that Max didn't even have time to get his bearings, so there was no time to dodge. The golden louse caught the guy and threw him off the kite so that her children would no longer suffer. Max flew down and hit the ground hard. The guys immediately rushed to him. They helped him up and asked how he was feeling. But the young master admitted that he could not withstand even one blow from this demonic creature, even thinking that this was the end. Suddenly, Max remembered the gift from Old Man Lucas, who initially did not take it seriously. The hero took out this unit and began to move the beads, as if dialing the number of rescuers. He really hoped it would work. And then a miracle. Behind them, there was a painfully familiar roar of an animal that came to the rescue. The huge silhouette of this beast flashed over the guys' heads. This was the spiritual panther to which they had previously returned the children. The louse, seeing such a strong opponent, began to buzz furiously. The golden louse, together with its swarm, was already flying at full speed to attack the spiritual leopard. But the predator was ready for this. The meeting of the two titans of the forest could not pass quietly, so everything around was shaking from explosions. Despite the advantage in numbers, the lice were defeated. The spiritual leopard stunned the golden louse with its energy flow. Max decided that this was the best time to apply taming techniques to insects. He folded his hands, tuned in, and began to call upon the technique. Having activated the technique, the guy aimed it directly at the golden louse. Upon completion, the hero landed elegantly and waited for the result. The golden louse shone brightly. This could only mean that the taming was successful. Insects that inspire fear throughout the forest were at the mercy of Max. She circled him harmlessly while the guy admired them. The guys were also happy. They couldn't even imagine that the panther would help them. Max turned to the spiritual panther and thanked him for everything, because if it weren't for her, everyone would have died. The panther did this as a token of payment for the guy's kindness to her and her children. But Max assured the predator that she no longer owed him anything. The spiritual panther finished its work and elegantly left. The guys waved after it. Jack was amused, because if Dora found out that thanks to her map, Max managed to tame the golden louse, she would probably be furious. But the hero himself was sure that Dora would be ruined by cooperation with the sixth elder, so she would not even have time to become enraged. Suddenly, their conversation was interrupted by a powerful energy eruption. This eruption was single, but no less colorful. Rose noticed that this was an inferno. This was the first time Max had heard of this, so he asked what it was. Jack explained that this was an eruption of fiery energy in the secret realm of Rongyan. There are rumors that it occurs only once every 3,000 or 4,000 years, and not everyone is given the opportunity to see it. Rose rejoiced at the opportunity to admire such a rare sight. But our hero did not understand the charm because it looked more like a disaster. The girl started from afar. She said that the elders whom Max knows are connected with this phenomenon. Even her master is connected. Rose explained that they became known due to an eruption in the secret realm of Rongyan 3,800 years ago. Although Inferno is dangerous, it also brings countless possibilities. Jack said that when the eruption begins, the strength of all demonic beasts will decrease, making it easier to hunt them down and seize the treasures they guard. And the most important thing is the cultivation zone in the center. It will quickly increase the cultivation level. Max asked his chubby friend how quickly he would rise. He thought about it, and assumed that it was approximately the same as with that elder brother's pill. Max was very happy about such opportunities, so he grabbed his unique team and ran to meet the rapid improvement of his forces. Meanwhile, on the holy land of Yuanchu, mass gatherings of all those capable of defending their land took place. The Holy Master officially announced to everyone that from the moment of the eruption, enemies outside the Holy Land will not stand by. Olivia took out her sword and proudly agitated the crowd to immediately go to defend the secret kingdom of Rongyan. And the elders and selected masters of the sect bowed to the Holy Master and accepted her will. Muna shared with her people that the light of Felina's soul had recently gone out. The seventh lady thought about the cause of her death, because at that time there was no eruption. Therefore, she assumed that the woman died either from the paws of the beast or from the hands of one of her own. Helen believed that Felina deserved to end this way, because she broke the rules and snuck into the secret kingdom. Old Lucas said that he had a strange feeling that something had happened to Max. He was worried that the young master was in trouble. Alan, with his hands folded behind his back, admired the eruption, believing in his idea. The man didn't expect to be able to see the inferno, so now he is even more confident that he can break through beyond the Golden Pill realm and become immortal. While Alana was fantasizing, looking at the volcano, he was quietly watched. This was the fifth elder Frida who, like no one else, knew all the meanness and deceit of this man. This time she was going to take revenge for everything he did to her, and everyone would see his true colors. The disciples were already in full swing through the portal to the secret kingdom to fulfill their duty to the sect. Alan was also watching all this, when suddenly a holy elder appeared and headed towards him. He bowed in greeting to his mistress. But Olivia asked the man to call her sister. Also, the Holy Master said that she did not expect to see him here before everyone else. Alan flatteringly said that it was an honor for him. He also reported that Prague would arrive in half a day at most. Olivia, hearing this, shouted to the students and everyone else that since the enemies were close, they needed to become stronger during this half day. The Holy Master addressed the Second Order disciples. She told them to increase their powers as quickly as possible, and if anyone could use Inferno, they would be appointed as an elder. The students were very happy, because such an opportunity comes extremely rarely. The energy was scattered across the field and heterogeneous. Olivia ordered them to find a place within their strength and begin cultivation. Everyone accepted her will, but with these places, everything was not so simple. There was a hierarchy of students who, depending on their rating, could occupy the best places and not give them up to anyone. But in general, the fact of being in such a place and the opportunity to see the Inferno is a great success. Meanwhile, our team was breaking through a heap of local forest inhabitants, of whom there were a lot. Flying astride a golden louse, they saw a sick number of teleporters. This only meant that the sect had sent all the elites to cultivate. Jack was worried, because he knew that since the elite were here, they would not let them share the cultivation resources just like that. But Max consoled his friend. He told him not to forget that they were at the stage of creating the foundations. In addition, the hero himself is invincible at this stage, so he can easily cope with second-tier students. Rose drew their attention to the fact that ahead, there is an area for the cultivation of the secret kingdom of Rongyan. If you get there, you can begin cultivation. Jack was no longer impatient to increase his strength, so he did not listen to his friends who asked him not to rush and rush to the offensive. But his zeal was severely punished by the arrogant students of the Second Order, who kicked him in the ass and treated his desires with contempt. A plump guy lay on the ground and complained to his older brother about the injustice of evil people. Max stated with full confidence that this was due to an incorrect approach and decided to personally demonstrate how it should be done. But the hero got his ass just like his friend, because the second-tier students were not going to give up their seats. Max stood up and was indignant at this behavior. Rose was confused. The girl did not understand how they could now flog themselves a place for cultivation. The young master was not going to retreat so easily. This time, he no longer intended to communicate politely with them, so he took out his spirit grenades. Max approached the second-order students and turned to them to restore order. They were outraged by such impudence, because they were accustomed to rudely treating students of the First Order, who were afraid to even talk to them with their tail between their legs. One of them decided to put the daredevil in his place, so he activated his powerful energy technique and directed it at the hero. Max easily dodged the attack and was now ready to fight back in full. He threw his spiritual grenades right into the faces of the arrogant students so that he would no longer be considered a weakling and would be treated with respect. The guys did not expect such a return, because they were too self-confident, and this played a cruel joke on them. A powerful explosion of justice burst out with a loud roar throughout the secret kingdom. Having gained the upper hand, our hero sat on a stone and asked the students to explain their behavior. They sat at his feet and made excuses, citing the fact that they simply did not want someone else's influence on their places and ability to absorb energy. With swollen faces and remorse, they claimed that now they didn't care, because Max had shown his strength, so the guys were not at all against him cultivating near them. The hero said that he does not care about these places. He needs an escort to the square. The second-order students tried to explain to the young man that they themselves had been at the stage of creating the foundations for 3 years, but still did not deserve a place in the square. After all, those who can remain in the square are on the second order, and their strength is higher than the 7th level. The guys advised Max not to get involved with these students and to be careful. But the young master was going to show them a real fight for a place in the sun. He turned to his team, telling them to follow him and not be afraid, because no one would dare stop them. Jack did not doubt the strength of his older brother, but he was just worried that if they turned the entire elite against themselves, things would not be easy. But Max was calm and confident. He believed that his team deserved to take the best places in the square. However, Rose and Jack still had their doubts. The disciples on the site were completely immersed in cultivation. Max felt incredibly pure energy and understood why this was such a rare opportunity. Jack realized that everyone present looked very strong, so he asked his older brother what they should do. The hero told him not to be afraid and just follow him to the center. The plump guy began to really panic, because all these people are above the 7th level of foundation creation. And if they join forces against them, it will be very difficult to fight back. Rose also believed that it was better to stay where they had already been given way and not attract too much attention. Max reassured his friends, saying that they were not in danger because they would not influence the cultivation of others. If they sit somewhere near these students, then only then will a blow follow. But just wandering between them and looking for a place is quite normal, and that's what many people do. The hero put his hands on the shoulders of his friends and said that since they followed him, they deserve to enjoy the best opportunities that come once every 1,000 years. He finally persuaded his team and went to the goal, not suspecting that he was being followed. Dora was hiding behind the trees and was angry that Max was still alive and had even gotten all the way here. But the girl was going to personally turn his life into hell, so the anger suddenly changed to gloating. The students noticed our team, which confidently stomped towards the place of the Golden Lotus of Rongyan. In these 3 places of gold, silver, and bronze, even in normal times, the cultivation is twice as good. And with the help of Inferno, the places are even more powerful. No one believed that this trio could take the 3 best places. Therefore, they waited with interest and a grin for when they would be hit in the neck. Rose did not hide from her older brother that she was a little worried. Max asked her to remain calm and trust him. The hero came closer and turned to his older brothers. He said that they had been occupying the best places for a long time and asked to give them up to him and his friends for training. These arrogant students did not even immediately bother to respond to Max's request. The disciple who sat gray on the Golden Lotus ordered his assistant Mao to deal with these losers so that he would not waste his time. Mao turned to Max. He said that the guy would either leave this place feet first or of his own free will. But the hero was not going to leave and proudly announced this to everyone. But he did not want to immediately demonstrate all his strength, so he decided to use grenades first. No one saw Mao in person, because there were rumors that his elder brother Marion rescued him from slavery on an extraterrestrial battlefield. It is said that even then Mao's power reached the peak of foundation creation. Therefore, everyone considered Max's team to be provoking the enemies to prevent older brother Marion from cultivating. Mao decided to show all his talents, so he rushed to the hero with a sword with lightning speed. But Max was not afraid of these tracks, because he had already prepared his spiritual grenades a long time ago. The explosion and roar after it, as always, were colossal and spectacular. The remaining disciples felt an attack force equal to that of the peak of the foundation creation stage. They were surprised, because they believed that Max was only in the early stages of creating the foundations. Mao was carried away by the shockwave and was confused. After all, I didn't expect that a weak-looking opponent would be at the peak of creating the foundations. All the students were shocked by this information. After all, during the entire existence of the sect, no one had ever heard of a first-ranked disciple who could reach the peak of foundation creation. The Holy Master, along with the elders and Alan, approached the square and observed everything that was happening. Vanessa turned to the Holy Master, noting that the Inferno had already broken out and the enemies would attack at any moment. It led to the fact that First-Order disciples only interfere with worthy candidates for cultivation in the sacred place. She hinted at Max and his team. Helen put this woman in her place, saying that the guy had just fought a student at the peak of foundation creation and won. Muna also stated that her disciple is at the peak of the creation of foundations and can break through to the next kingdom. Therefore, he has every right to be there. Helen and Vanessa literally destroyed each other with their eyes. But Muna, unlike them, was calm. The sixth elder was incredibly angry, because Felina was nowhere to be found and she was already starting to get nervous that she wouldn't be able to stand up to the sisters alone. The Holy Elder assessed the situation and admitted that Max has the right to claim a place in the Golden Lotus. But his two friends do not. Mao decided that his opponent had demonstrated all his strength, so he was confident that he would finish him off with his signature trick. He cloned himself into 6 units and aimed with a smile at the hero to finally finish him off. The students were confident that Mao would prevail in this fight, because Marion himself taught him this cloning technique, and a lot of energy goes into it. Rose was very worried about her older brother, so she asked him to be careful. But Max was calm as a boa constrictor. Such tricks did not frighten him, because compared to his capabilities, this was nothing. The hero used the technique of 10,000 super spiritual grenades and brought them down on his opponent's head. He did it so quickly that he even sat down in anticipation of the result. As expected, Mao was defeated, thrown back by the energy flow. Coming to his senses, he coughed and did not understand how Max managed to pull it off. The hero approached Marion's servant and asked if he understood why the technique had such a specific name. And without waiting for an answer, Max said that after the mayhem of so many spiritual grenades, everyone gets a swollen face in the form of a grenade. All the students in the square were in such shock that they had completely forgotten about cultivation and saw the new genius of the sect. Even Marion himself did not expect that someone would be able to defeat his servant, so he did not hide his surprise. Max said that he did not come here to collect surprised glances, but to take a place of honor for cultivation in the Golden Lotus. He ordered Marion to immediately give up his place to him. A self-confident student stood up from the Lotus and said that since Max defeated Mao, he would give him a chance to compete for this place. The elder brother himself decided to show nobility and told Max that if he managed to touch his clothes in 10 blows, the hero would win. The students were indignant at Max's impudence. After all, no one dares to provoke Marion's older brother because he never loses in battle. Only a desperate fool would go into battle with an invulnerable man at the peak of Foundation creation. Marion declared that he was invincible at the Foundation stage and would now kick his ass. But Max also did not remain silent. He said that he was also powerful at this stage and was able to protect his ass. They were wondering who would win now, because their forces were approximately equal, and ingenuity would decide everything. Marion did not want to waste time because he still needed to cultivate, so he told Max to start the battle immediately. He concentrated all his energy to summon Fenglong, and he directed a huge energy dragon directly at the hero, ordering him to be killed. Rose and Jack began to get nervous, because they knew that Marion had invented this technique himself. He often uses it to be invincible in his kingdom. Vanessa gloated, because she knew that this technique was very powerful, and if Max didn't die after it, he would definitely suffer seriously. But Helen asked her sister not to rush things, because the fight was not over yet. Muna looked at her student and could not get enough of it. After all, since their last meeting, Max has changed a lot and is now even able to confront students at the peak of creating the foundations. The hero threw 10,000 spiritual grenades into Fenglong's mouth to counter this technique, until the energy dragon continued to fly straight at the guy. Max was shocked that such a huge number of grenades could not stop the enemy's attack. Mariana's technique still achieved its goal, and there was a loud explosion. Jack and Rose were very scared for their older brother, because the technique was really very powerful. Marion said with a grin that not everyone would dare to resist his signature technique, but still he confidently took credit for the victory, and went back to his Golden Lotus to continue cultivation. But from the soot of smoke suddenly the voice of Max was heard, who declared that this was not the end. The hero in the jump said that he was simply testing the abilities of his opponent, because he did not consider him invincible. Max's team kept their fingers crossed for him, and were glad that everything was fine with him. The young master landed in front of his opponent, who was completely dumbfounded from surprise. The hero told his opponent to take him seriously, because he did not intend to joke. Marion became furious. He shouted that Max should have been seriously injured after his technique. But while he was indignant, the hero instantly shoved his boot right in his face. Such a blow carried the talkative and narcissistic older brother into the fog of despair. All the elders were surprised at this turn, and even the Holy Master did not understand how Max managed to repel the elite student. Marion was outraged by such a vile attack, and called for the battle to be fought nobly and without tricks. Max did not understand why an invincible student at the peak of creating the foundations was afraid of vile attacks. Marion was furious because his opponent had such a long tongue, and decided to show all his power in one technique that he was going to unleash on him. Max did not wait for Fenglong to overtake him, and decided to attack him first. The energy dragon has already regretted 10 times that he got involved with this guy who decided to show everyone what it means to be invincible at the stage of creating the foundations. A few moments later, the hero was contentedly dusting off his hands from the work done. Like a skilled macrame master, he knitted a lovely bow from Fenglin. His team didn't even know how to react, so they froze in surprise. Max ended up pointing his handicraft masterpiece right at Marion's face. And again, a loud explosion was heard throughout the entire secret kingdom of Rongyang, and the arrogant student was amazed by his own technique.